means that they have less real life interactions with people and less real friends. And so then if they don't have a relationship and they don't have a girl to lean on, then they just have nobody.
It was like really early on that I realized that I was in competition with just about everyone, and I played competitive sports all year round, and I think that like was a big contributing factor to the way that like I was kind of socialized in a competitive mindset.
I agree with that, but I disagree that that's all socialization.
Or like the priority of a man of like especially a higher socioeconomic background, then when that might be one factor, but is it his highest priority?
If I take her to McDonald's, she's probably not going to put out. If I take her out for a steak dinner, she's probably more likely to put out. Does anybody disagree with that?
Do you think that most men are going on dates trying to have sex on the first date?
So it is more transactional because it's transactional in a way where the women are focusing on something that's not him, it's what he can provide. But the man is focusing on her.
So I do think women are attracted to status, but I think status is a representation of something else underlying that's more about like safety. So you mean women would have to adjust their standards for men?
Yeah.
Because what would men have to adjust it?
Men's standards are just stupid.
Like her, like a woman's looks is not always going to overwhelm other negative aspects about her. So if
that's
you're
exactly
young
what
and
I'm saying.
23
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying there's the first wall that you break through, and then all of a sudden the other things now matter. And I just included church, I included work, I'm including all other places where there's another intent there, but those are still the places that you meet
Work is another place where you shouldn't go to like socially.
Yes,
like,
go to do that.
That's the place where we meet the most. That's where
yes,
we meet
exactly. So hold on, wait. I'm trying to. You approach the girl, but the first time you approach her, you act like you're gay. And then, hey girlfriend, let me help you with that. And over time, keep approaching her, but get straighter and straighter over time.
If it's in your terms, if I'm speaking sexual marketplace terms, I'm just saying you can't go from a 2 to a 10 overnight, okay? You can go from a 2 to a 5, and then from a 5 to an 8, and then from an 8 to a 10. But what you're saying is like, again, how am I supposed to encourage somebody who's at a 2 to go to a 10 overnight? And I'm saying it's just literally not possible.
I know of the dating marketplace, but I've never heard of the sexual marketplace. And so I had to actually like look into this, and I was like, okay, yeah, I've never heard it phrased as the dating marketplace. So I had to actually like separate all of my ideas of what it would be just to have sex with somebody versus to actually date somebody. And so I'm wondering, like, are we talking about all or both or just one or the other?
That's a good question because I think that actually is different for different people.
Because I would say it's different. Yeah, I would say for sure it's.
But when you say it's different for different people, do you think that breakdown happens along gendered lines?
No, I think some so for instance, my hookups and my potential partners are not necessarily different. Really.
Hey guys.
All right, welcome Portland. Portland is late. But
yeah,
whatever.
I tried telling my 8-week-old and my 2-year-old that I needed to get this stream started. They were weirdly unsympathetic, but I managed to pawn them off, so we're good now.
I think your 8-year-old has a learning disability.
Are you blaming your kids for why you're tardy?
Just to be clear, that's 8-week-old. I'm sorry, what was that?
Are you blaming your kids for why you're tardy?
Yep, I am. It's very convenient. I do it all the time for a variety.
I know, that's why.
That's like the whole point in having kids.
Base, yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
right now, and then soon it'll be the unpaid manual labor. But yeah, it's sorry to be late. Sorry to hang you guys up, but thanks for having me.
All right, welcome aboard. Why are women not transactional? Why are you so in such disagreement with what I had to say?
Well, hold on. You said that women are definitively more transactional than men. That's what I disagreed with. I said there's really no there's no significant difference in how one sex gender refers or relates to transactionality versus the other. I think we just value different ends of that transaction, like we were talking about in the Twitter exchange that we had. So men value things like the physical attractiveness, the ability to take care of a home, like traditionally and obviously like within the normative gender role context. We're talking about the way that these things generally break out. Men value feminine
I
traits.
think I guess what I'm saying is the things that men value are stupid, and things that women value are smart, and women are getting out like way with a great fucking deal there. Like women are value men just want like young and like pretty and like will like take care like traditionally just like fucking be your slave and take care of your house. But while women want like, a man that has like a bunch of skills, he's experienced, he's smart, he's older, he can provide, he can improve her life like tenfold or whatever the fuck, like all that shit. It's just like it's apples. It's like apples to like fucking piss.
Do you think that the majority of women get or like actively vet for partners that fill all of the meet all of those criteria, or do you think most of them compromise on a lot of those criteria to find suitable partners?
Sure, they compromise, yeah.
And you think that there's just like a fundamental asymmetry between how much men compromise versus how much women have to, or like you feel like men don't see themselves as compromising because they're valuing the wrong things? Like, help me understand it a little bit better.
No, I think that men both are more compromising on the things that they value, and they value stupid things, and women are much less compromising, which isn't bad. That's fine. I think men should be more selective, and women should. It doesn't. It's not like they need to fucking just like fuck any guy. But I think that the relationship between men and women is an unhealthy dynamic where men are the constant pursuers and women are the vetters. Both halves of that are untenable. We need both halves to be more in the middle. And I don't think it's biological.
Your explanation, so when originally you said one side is more transactional, but then eventually your explanation wasn't, because I feel like in order for women to be transactional, men have to be providing the other half of that transaction. So I don't think one or the other could be more transactional, but now you're saying one gets more out of the transaction than the other. So is that, would you separate that from being more transactional? Smeth?
I think the questions.
Sorry, repeat that. I just got a text from somebody. I'm really sorry about that.
It sounds like you're saying.
Yeah, we know, because we could see you texting instead of answering the question. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
It sounds like you're saying that it's not actually about one being more transactional. It's actually about the other just getting more out of the transaction. Would you be able to separate those two, or do you think
because men are more compromising. I think even regardless of the things that they value, even regardless of that, men are still more compromising.
Based on what? Because I would say, looking at the fact that women initiate the majority of divorces, I would say that at least in the initiation of and the interim of like forming a marriage or like forming a long-term relationship, women make more compromises. They probably find over the long periods of time that they are less willing to accept those compromises for the long haul than they thought they were. So and that's a lot of cases, new information becomes available to them. But I think the majority of people who get into long-term relationships and like marriage have some level of like mutual compromise that's being made. And the fact that women initiate the majority of divorces would lead me to believe that they're the ones finding themselves having compromised too much.
I don't know. I feel like
wait, what is the stated reason that they initiate the divorce? Is it irreconcilable differences?
There's not one single reason. I mean, infidelity is one main reason. Obviously, it probably contributes to a significant percentage. I don't have them in front of me, but by and large,
I feel like you're making his argument, though. If women are divorcing more, that means they're compromising less.
No, it means that they are deciding that they compromised too much more frequently, and I think that is probably
even if that was true,
level of unsustainability to relationships, because there was too much compromise to get into it.
Even if that was true, it could still be that the man is like compromised more and is still choosing to compromise more later on. Whereas you're saying, well, women might compromise more early on, but later they don't. Whereas the man is still making that compromise. So I don't feel like that really would make the argument.
Well, hold on. For the record, I was trying to explain why I need like a more built out assertion than just I think men compromise more. I was kind of building out why I think
hard example of something to engage on, like an exact like transaction where.
But just really quick, I don't think that the proof that women initiating divorce really proves that they're compromising. I would say that in itself is an instance of lack of compromise, which isn't necessarily bad. But
don't use Tom's argument. He just said that.
Okay.
Sorry.
I kind of concur with Tom and Smeth, though. It just depends on how you want to look at that. Like, you could take the initiation of divorce as, your hypothesis that, like, oh, that's telling me that a woman has realized she's compromised too much and that she needs to go back into the marketplace and try to find somebody who's better suited to her, and she believes that she can get somebody who's better aligned with her and like hold her standards higher. But you can look at it from the other side, just in the same way, and say, actually, if men are willing to stay in an unhappy marriage, it's because they're compromising. It's women who are the ones who have these like higher stringent standards. Just depends how you look at it.
Not even just that, but reasons for divorce rates are actually that the man isn't meeting the expectations that the woman set, meaning that they likely had very high expectations and the man didn't meet it. And so now it's not that they lowered their expectations and compromised. It's more so that they held those expectations. The man didn't meet those expectations. And now they're saying, okay, not time to cut my losses and run.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm open to you guys all convincing me that my fairly agnostic opinion on this entire, like, who is more transactional, like, argument is wrong or built on bad logic. I'm really coming at this, like I said, from a pretty balanced standpoint. I'm not convinced that there's a good argument that one side or the other is like distinctly and noticeably more transactional. I'm open to the argument that, like, because men value certain things that they are less likely to, that like women value certain things that they are likely to like have higher expectations in, like, when they form the marriage or relationship, and then those expectations are eroded over time and align with like the dissolution of the relationship. Like, I'm still not convinced that there's like evidence that one or the other party is like more transactional in that
Well,
case.
hold on. I mean, we've been using the word transactional, which is like kind of a loaded and like a loaded term, and it already has like negative connotations. Do you think it's a negative thing? Like I'll even grant you that, okay, women are more transactional. You don't think that's a bad thing?
No, I don't think that transactionality is something that you can like really remove from human relationships. I think we're all built on pretty transactional. The way we value relationships is inherently transactional. That's how we build and form them. But there's ways that you can be transactional in a negative or even abusive way. You can overvalue certain aspects of the transaction that put your partner at a disadvantage, or like anybody at in a like compromising position. And those are, it's possible for that to happen in marriages too. People can value the wrong things that aren't going to age well, like physical attractiveness. A relationship that's built on that foundation is probably not going to age well, simply for the reality that we all lose that over time. And so if men value that more than women do, from like Smeth's analysis, then it would make sense that they would be the ones initiating more of the divorces if that's like the quality they're most concerned with, and that's the one that most directly erodes over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just kind of like, I'm looking to understand both sides of the argument. I'm super open to the possibility that I'm wrong, but I'm just kind of sharing my side of it.
I think that there's a difference between being selective and being transactional, and I think that especially just the way of technology and the way the dating market is changing, and the way our conversations are going about it, like the way everybody's talking about it. For women, dating and choosing who to date is now becoming more and more every day, like looking at a shopping list. And that's different from like just kind of your everyday, like picking who around you is like who's good for you and stuff. That it's like, it's just so dehumanized that I think transactional is just the optimal word, and it's distinct from past times of humanity.
Smith, where do you go? What do you base that off of? This idea that like women are like, women be shopping, am I right? Like they make this like list or whatever, and then they just go and try to find men according to it.
Yeah, I think there's women are much more happy being alone. There's a massive virginity crisis, both among men and women. People aren't pairing up, but men are not happy with it, and women are happy with it. Men more so are getting less sex than women, but they trend in the same direction.
Was this a poll?
I don't know where I could find this data, but
well,
it's important to me to know just if did women say that they were happy with that, or did they say that they were kind of indifferent towards it?
I know
and
the
I would
polling,
have to know the age, but okay, continue, Tom.
I know the polling that says that men are lonelier. And I think that men not having friends as often is has more to do with that like outside of relationships, they don't have somebody to lean on, and they don't have somebody to have like a deeper conversations with. And I think that more often it has to do with the fact that like, because most of the polling is about men being lonely, and then even like the fact that men are making friends less often, and they're like socialized into like video games and computer stuff and streaming and all sorts of other things at earlier ages, means that they have less real life interactions with people and less real friends. And so then if they don't have a relationship and they don't have a girl to lean on, then they just have nobody. Whereas women are almost always going to have their girlfriends. They're going to have deeper relationships with them. They're going to have intimate relationships with them where they talk about like more things about their lives.
I actually really agree with Tom about the socialization of men versus women. And I think a big part of it is the way that boys are by and large pushed into competitive sports at a really early age. It has this like localized team building effect, but it also has a really alienating effect in the way that you like are constantly put in competition with both your peers in your immediate like class and the peers in other schools that you compete with. It really creates this like much more fiercely competitive and market-based mentality in terms of the way that I think I kind of related to it. I didn't get a good sense that I should like use like open up to anyone who had like something to gain by like being able to exploit that over me. It was like really early on that I realized that I was in competition with just about everyone, and I played competitive sports all year round, and I think that like was a big contributing factor to the way that like I was kind of socialized in a competitive mindset.
I agree with that, but I disagree that that's like all socialization. One of the things that I study is different types of communication between men and women, and it was kind of like something that we had to learn in the last in my profession. And so I think that a lot of it actually is like the way that men um, the way that they like understand things, the way that they compute different types of information, the way that they like to express different types of information. Sports for me was something that was really good because I built camaraderie with my teammates, and I like these were people that I was close with. But that didn't mean that we had like deep, intimate conversations with one another. Men build relationships around some sort of commonality, like playing video games together or watching streams together or playing fantasy football or sports or whatever. Like we just do something in that we share in common together, and we become friends. Whereas women actually have to share intimate information with you in order to like consider you their friend. And I don't know that that's all socialization. I think that a lot of that is actually like the way that we interact naturally.
That's interesting.
I've been talking about that a lot lately.
It's interesting to me that you think they're like the sexes are fundamentally divergent in the way that they like socialize with their peers and like build these
he's right.
And relationships.
I know what he's talking about. He's right. I've been talking about this with people around me quite a bit lately. And I've been arguing that I think even if it is essential to or it's part of human nature, I think we don't know to what extent it is social and what it isn't. So we should effectively sort of treat it as if it's social until we know. Because it's the only way we could.
He's saying it's not social, and we should observe it as like a biologically essential difference between the way that our two sexes like relate to their friend groups. And
you're adding the prescription in there. Hold on, because he added the prescription in there for me. I didn't make a prescription. I'm saying that I do think that difference is biological, and I think that we somewhat shame men for the ways that they interact, and I think some of it is biological. But I think what's important when it comes to a prescription is like encourage men to have those intimate relationships and make it to where they're just as likely to have those relationships as women, to where we're not socializing them at such a young age to where they're more likely to be separated from everybody else and not have intimate relationships with people. I want the likelihood, because like even women early on, they're taught to like make people happy, smile at people. They want to like, they're taught to be sexy. They're taught like a lot of very different things in how to socialize around other people, and men aren't taught that in the like the things that women are taught are very important in how we make friends, and men
I feel like
just
you're helping
aren't
the
taught those things.
socialization argument, not the biological argument. Can
Yeah,
you tell
so
me where the difference is rooted in like biology, if that is the point?
So this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that men do communicate differently than women, and I think part of that is biological, but I think that we need to have similar socialization at early ages so that all else can be equal. But I think even with all else equal, there will still be differences. I think that we just exaggerate those differences too much currently.
Okay, so can you explain to me where the baseline difference would exist and how you would say it's like quantified? Because this is not something I think that you could really, without like a super strong neurobiological argument to back it. I don't think that
I've got an example. I've got an example.
No, I don't need an example. I need solid, fundamentally like provable evidence that there's a biological difference between the way men and women make friends.
I can't prove that. I can't prove that, but I can show you. I can give an example of where it happens.
That's the claim. I want to understand.
The evidence comes from, it's not, obviously we can't prove it unless we live in a society where all else is equal, but we can look at every other society and see that men's communication standards are exactly the same, and these similarities across from one
wait, they're not exactly the same at all. There are different
in these areas, the areas that we're talking about, like like the way that I'm blanking on the word right now, I don't know why, but it's kind of the way that we compute, the way we process. Yes, the way we process information is different. And so then the way that we're going to communicate to one another to process that type of information is going to be different as well. Whereas when we communicate with women, we do communicate differently than we do with men.
Okay, just walk me through it real quick. Explain the difference. Men communicate like A, women communicate like B, and we know this is biologically driven because.
Again,
we can just forego the biological part.
It's biological.
No,
I'm saying that we can't
the whole
know.
argument is that it's socialized. Like my argument is that like it is entirely socialized. If you put men and women, if you raised children in lab settings and like put them under the exact same social influences, they would largely socialize intersexually in like the same way in terms of their friend groups and the way that they like form friendship.
Okay, Portland, I think that's the biggest problem, is that you said that if you have this understanding that this is a consequence of just nurture, not nature. I think that's why the framing of this is like the sexual marketplace may not be the best term. And like, especially when you're saying you view it as like a neutral phenomenon, just because if you're most people who approach the sexual marketplace, as far as I understand it, has like a basis. They do this because they think nature has like a biological basis for this phenomenon, right? And that would mean that like if men have like a higher propensity for sex just biologically, then nature has basically conferred this disadvantage into men. So wouldn't that make women being transactional in that respect like somewhat like manipulative, right? You're literally saying like men's greater sexual desire as a biological function puts them at a disadvantage. And obviously like women certainly desire sex too, but as long as women are going to desire it less than men, women are going to have a collective advantage biologically and in their social roles and interactions.
I think that was Smeth's position that I was kind of like granting.
No.
That men value physical, like that men value those.
I don't agree.
That was your initial statement that men are idiots who value X, Y, and Z.
They value those things. Yeah. This whole conversation, I haven't really said much in this whole conversation about nature versus nurture. I believe there is nature, and I believe, like Tom, you can't really know exactly where it is. So my stance, of which he agreed with, so we can move on, basically, is that I believe that it's probably there, but we can't know how much is nature versus nurture. But we do know nurture exists, so we should treat it as if that exists, and that's where we can have a conversation. Like you were saying, Portland, we don't have study. We can't have a study that proves nature, so we can only study and quantify nurture, and that's where we should be focusing. Otherwise, because nature is just, we're gonna have some fucking stupid biblical conversation where we make these grand claims,
Then
we don't
why
have proof one way or the other.
Characterize it as transactional to me? I feel like that's just if the only room for discussion is going to be whether or not it's transactional, I don't even know if that's the best way to characterize what's happening here then, because what everyone's acknowledging is that both men and women are going to be goal driven, right? And I think the way that we choose to characterize this issue is going to have an impact on the way people even look at relationships to begin with. So I guess you could characterize like interactions between like a man, like a wife and husband, as, you know, transactional, or people trying to date as like transactional. But I doubt most people even see them that way, or like I'm skeptical that they do. I would think that they see it more like symbiosis, right?
Sure.
And you know, kind of a give and take.
My point was about my original point when I was talking to Portland that sparked this argument wasn't about like, because I think in a relationship it's very give and take, but as far as seeking out relationships, like picking who to date, I think because of the women have so much more leverage and choosing power, they are more selective, and I would use the word transactional. They're picking people like women. There's like a trend of like women prefer men that make more money than them, even though under the age of 30 in major like cities, like women are making more than men now. Like women still want men that make more money than them, and like they have more options. So they'd rather. A lot of women are saying they'd rather be alone than date someone that makes less money. I mean, that's not always going to be the way it plays out, but
a lot of men say they would rather be alone than date a woman who makes more money than them. So I mean, like, the same is conversely true. There are a lot of like normative social expectations that I think are still reflective in the way that a lot of the people answer these questions, but I don't know that it's reflective of the way that they actually engage with the dating marketplace as much as the way they'd like to imagine themselves as engaging with it.
Yeah, Smeth, this is why I brought up earlier that I feel like when we bring up some area where women are going to be transactional, men are providing the other end of that transaction. And that's why I think it's weird to say one is more transactional than the other when both are going to be engaging within this transaction. So that's why I asked you to separate transactional versus one getting more out of the transaction.
Smith, I think you're off on the claim that you made that women are looking for a man who makes significantly more than them. As far as I understand, like I pulled it up according to Pew Research, single women looking for a relationship are roughly 3 times as likely as men to say they wouldn't consider a relationship with someone who makes significantly less money than them. So 24% of women reported that, and that versus 7% of men, which is different than saying women have the positive preference for a partner that makes more money than them. It just seems like most people want to be on kind of an equal economic footing, and they
mutually exclusive though.
Yeah, that's different.
How do you mean?
Like, you can have, so women wanting to date up in status does not necessarily mean that they're not going to date within their class. Whereas like men want to date within their class, but they're not going, like, if I'm like a rich, you know, like CEO guy, I might date somebody who's also grown up in a rich family and who like understands the field and understands these sorts of engagements. They know how to act when we go to the dinner parties. Like that is obviously going to be part of it. But women are actually looking for status. Men are not looking for status. But women do look for status. It is part of what they're looking for when they're finding
But I think
a
somebody mentioned we're talking about the disconnect between everybody has their stated preferences and stuff like that. But when you actually look at the effect and what people are doing and their actions, are those preferences even being reflected in like you know, like are we seeing a huge age gap between most married couples now? Like women may prefer an older man and men may prefer older women, but are the majority of couples have an age gap that's greater than like, you know, 5-10 years? I would be so shocked to see that.
Yeah, I would say,
the majority of people are going to
even
marry
1 year
within
is
their
good.
Economic bracket. So like, even though again, women's stated preference would be like, yeah, I want someone who makes more money than me. But in reality, if you look at statistics, like most people, again, similar economic backgrounds are who you're going to end up marrying.
Why would you make it
100% the point I was trying to make is that a lot of these are like...
You're moving the goalpost with the 5-10 years. I bet you on average women are dating men that are like 1 to 2 years or something older. I bet you on average women are dating men that are making like, you know, $5,000 more a year, that kind of thing. Because like, so they have the leverage to make that much of a negotiation in the dating market.
But those gaps have shrunk considerably since the time, like even 30 years ago, when we would have started like, you know, any time that you could start like measuring those statistics back from in recent history, I guarantee you that all those gaps have closed in terms of the amount of women that are marrying significantly older men, that like the income disparity between them, they are narrowing because women have more like ability to keep up in the income space, like in the income side of the equation, and because more prominently now we're marrying people that aren't like women aren't being like married off to old men at the
Yeah,
rate
I
that
want
they
to know,
were
like, even if
societally.
women have this, women like poor women or women of like, more modest economic backgrounds, yeah, like they probably do have a stated preference for like, of course, I want to marry somebody who makes a significant amount of money. I don't know. It's a different claim to say that women want somebody who makes significantly more than them versus a man who makes X amount of money at least, But like that aside, what social circumstances would enable a woman of like a lower socioeconomic background to even meet a wealthier man?
Well, why
I
do
can
we
tell
have
you, and you're
to
not gonna
say
like it. You're not gonna
social?
like it. You're not
Is
gonna
it
like it.
Instagram or what?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that. Okay, you're not gonna like what I think that all
No, we will go for
women.
it. I don't think
So
it could
the
be that
social
controversial.
role, the social role of women, not like women fundamentally, is an element of their being as being a sex worker to some degree, and they're withholding their sexuality and everything. When you're posting on Instagram, every fucking little thing, like when you fucking like every like part of your life as a woman is unfairly like not something you want to like, but it's imbued with your sexuality. All your
Even the way
interactions with
that
men.
you go around framing it though, like the women are withholding sex, as if like it's a thing that like women need to
Because
be like
it's
granting.
no, it's because it's where society tells women it's their locus of power is their
Mhm.
sexuality.
I think that's true that's how women are socialized to believe, but like I just the
Yeah.
framing of it is strange or whatever because it makes it sound like again like you just acknowledge that that's a social pressure that women have kind of like forced upon them. It's not one that like they just organically arrived at or like came out of nowhere. So when you say like they're withholding sex, it almost sounds like a sinister like
No,
thing
no,
that
it's
they
it's
chose. But
because
it's like you're
it's their
obeying
tool
into the
set.
social role
It's
that
the
you're told to
it's the
Yeah,
tool
fulfill.
you're
set they've been
projecting the
given.
normative onto it when he's making a pragmatic statement.
I
No, I'm
think it's
saying if
smart.
you're
I
using
think
the
it's
term like
smart.
withholding, like I think there's a more neutral way to observe that phenomenon. You could say that like women are like the suppliers of sex, right? And men constitute kind of like the demand, right?
Yeah,
I
no, but
think
no,
that
no, but
sounds worse.
I think it's
Why?
smart on their part. Women that do this are smart because this is the cards they've been given. You've been given these tools in society. Why wouldn't you? That's why the sex work pipeline into OnlyFans and shit is such a powerful and scary
Why is
thing
that? I don't. It's
because
only smart if like you're presupposing that men value that like that is the top priority for a man every single time, or like the priority of a man of like especially a higher socioeconomic background. Then when that might be one factor, but is it his highest priority?
okay, so wait, what about the loneliness thing? Someone in my chat mentioned that the loneliness thing is not just like relationships. It's not just friends. It's also relationships. But I looked up the data. There's a trend of going up of people under the age of 30 not having had sex in the past
2 years.
years.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's gone up to like 20%. Uh, and for men, and it's gone up to, and this is 2016. I don't know where it stands now. It was 20% of men in 2016, and just under 16% for women.
Okay,
It's
so what do
it's
you think we
about
learned
19
from
and
that statistic? What do you
21%
think?
right now.
Walk out your point from that statistic for me. What do you think that tells us?
People aren't forming and are engaging in sex or relation. I would assume more relationships, but I mean I'm assuming there. But yeah, what do you
Okay,
think is the
so
causation? What do I think is the causation?
what do you think that piece of data tells us about your larger argument? Because for me,
What do you think?
I would point to it and say that there's a tremendous similarity in both the trend and the amount of women and men reporting this similar phenomenon of not having sex for over 2 years in this age group. It sounds like it's not very gender specific or like leaning one way or the other very strongly.
I think that well, women are self-reporting that they are happy being lonely or not. They're happy not being in relationships more than men are self-reporting that they're happy not being in relationships. That might just be cope. But they're
hold on.
reporting that.
No. What you just said is that men and women are about the same percentage when it comes to not having sex, yet men are reporting that they're lonelier at much higher rates. So we know that women are, like, from those two data sets, it sounds like women are happier not having sex than men are.
Or at least them self-reporting that they experience less loneliness associated with the lack of sex might be attributable to a few different things. I think that having the strong, close personal relationships that we were talking about earlier kind of alleviates some of the need for that, and I would think that
that was my point.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that, but I do think that it's worth observing, though, that, like, if people are experiencing this kind of, like, lack of sex in roughly the same proportions, but it's affecting one significantly more than the other, I think that one values sex as, like, a component of the transaction much more highly than the other. Would you think, like, that makes sense to, like, assert?
Sure.
I think, Smeth, you said earlier, before you corrected yourself, you at first said that, like, women report being happy or being lonely. But I think the reason that we had stated earlier is that women it's easier for them to say that they like, or report that they like being or okay with, satisfied with being single, because they have greater social support networks as opposed to men. So if you're a single man and you already don't have that many friends, then you're a lonely man. But if you're a single woman, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a lonely woman, right?
Okay, I want to ask this question again. Please let Smith answer it this time. So the same thing. I was saying earlier that I wanted to separate whether or not they are more transactional versus what crap I'm blanking on. What was the other one? Whether or not
more
they
selective.
Whether or not they're more transactional or whether or not they get more out of the transaction. Because that seemed to be your argument for why they were more transactional. But my argument is that in order for it to be transactional, somebody else has to be providing the other end of that transaction. So they're both going to be transactional at the same rate. One getting more out of it would be different than them being more transactional, right?
I see what you're saying. Okay, you've convinced me on that. You're right. But I guess me saying they're more transactional is you trying to load it, because I'm just saying I want men to have a wake up call, and I think men should not put up with that. We need to.
Well, so so let me give you an example. I met this girl on Tinder. I'm just taking her out. If I take her to McDonald's, she's probably not going to put out. If I take her out for a steak dinner, she's probably more likely to put out. Is that kind of part of what you're talking about?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Does anybody disagree with that?
I mean, I guess the weird thing is that, do you think that most men are going on dates trying to have sex on the first date?
I think if it's a Twitter hookup, yes.
Okay, but wait, hold on a second.
Tinder.
With the having sex thing, with the having sex thing, the way I view dating, I end up having sex on the first date a lot, but I'm not trying to go fuck people on the first date. I just move close into intimacy. And I think, like, so, like, sure, like, they're like red pill people, and I guess a lot of men will frame it as like, oh, well, you got to get to fucking. But I just see sex as the most intimate way. Like, so if you're trying to like get close to somebody, that's a good measure of the amount of closeness you've been achieving. I don't like talking about it as like you've extracted sex from a woman, but I mean you've become close with them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that, like, even if I grant you women are more transactional, look at, like, you're outlining a like a tendency, or like a way that, like, men are rewarding this, or like feeding into it rather than trying to resist it. Like, oh, okay, so they're going to be transactional, so I guess what I have to do is kowtow to that demand, and I'm going to take her for a steak instead of McDonald's or whatever. Like, if men really rejected this, wouldn't they just outright I guess not engage in that sort of like transactional nature? Or do you think that that's just like men having to cope with it?
I think men could just be like, no, it's McDonald's. I don't fucking have a big paycheck or whatever. You know what I mean? I think, but men just won't fucking do it. I don't.
Wait. So now,
but men want that They want the end goal of that transaction. Men want to have sex too. Like, why would they? Why would they do that?
Men, the whole reason that they don't just say, fuck you, we're going to McDonald's, I'm broke, at a very high rate of success is because they are as transactional as women, and they understand where their value is in that transaction, and that they need to be able to project certain value to elevate their like level of attractiveness and their like
he said he's changing that
transaction.
He said he's changing it from more transactional to getting more out of the transaction.
Right,
so,
which was my whole framing to begin with, was like men and women are equally transactional. They value different things as aspects of that transaction, whether consciously or subconsciously. And that manifests in the way that their behaviors demonstrate different kinds of value. Men
wait, hold on. Hold the fuck on. Hold on. Because so yeah, but we're saying that like if you want sex or you want a relationship and you're a man, the thing that is valuable in the transaction is the woman. If it's her, if it's the one night stand you want, it's her sex, and if it's a relationship, it's you want her. But the thing that the woman is valuing isn't the man; it's what he can provide to her. So it is more transactional because it's transactional in a way where the women are focusing on something that's not him; it's what he can provide. But the man is focusing on her.
But again, that just means they're getting more out of it. Like you're saying there's more value from what they get out of it than value what the man gets out of it.
Is there any other reasons that a woman might be that way besides just trying to get resources? Like, I mean, women are, it's well documented that women are, well, not just smarts, okay, but like a lot of women are cautious out of fear too, and that's the thing that you're discounting. Yeah. Like, again, we acknowledge that like women would like to, there are probably a lot of women who would like to have more promiscuous sex, but a reality is that they feel unsafe, and it just isn't safe to engage in the type of promiscuous sex in that direction, like women to men, that it is for men to women, because men don't really face, or like men are not physically, or men are generally physically stronger than women, and don't fear that they're going to be sexually abused by women. So like this transactional nature, again, like if women are being that way, like it could be, it's a rational calculation based off of safety and caution too, not just like necessarily with the end goal of like, I'm trying to get resources, I'm trying to get a relationship.
I think it's more so that like, so I do think women are attracted to status, but I think status is a representation of something else underlying that's more about like safety and security. And I think that
even just the term status there, like you use the term status as if it's one thing. It's not. It's like
it's not one thing. It's a million things.
Factors that
go into I have status and I live at my parents'.
Right. So that's I give this all the time, where like status can be the guy with the nice house, the guy with the nice car, or like it can be the hottest chick living in a small town, and everybody goes to the rodeo every Friday night, and the guy who's just the bomb at the rodeo is the guy who everybody's cheering on. He's the guy who everybody loves, and they all chant his name. That guy's got status. That guy's he's the dope in that small town. He has status. And I think that these represent things to a woman where like, if you are liked by a lot of people, if you are or if you have money, or if you have power, or if you have a lot of people around you, you represent safety and security. And I think that that's something that women will just naturally gravitate towards and look for in one way or the other.
Yeah, the thing that I'm pointing out,
real quick, you said something that everybody just kind of said, okay, but, and I have a huge issue with it. You said that men are valuing women for their ability to be in a relationship because they want the person, and women are valuing men for the material offer, like the material value that they can offer.
I was about to go right back to that.
Okay, good. Substantiate that somehow.
So yeah, so with what Tom just said, like, so those different types of status that we're talking about, if that's the factor we're talking about, so the women are evaluating you by factors around you, like the people around you, the environment that you're in, rather than paying attention to you as an individual. But where I find that men will pay attention to the woman, and they'll evaluate her personality, and they'll evaluate, like, it's just so much more personal and intimate of an evaluation.
How do you mean that a woman could like evaluate a potential mate without doing it on an individual basis?
There's like the guy that's at the rodeo. It's like, oh, that's the guy for me. You know, it's the guy that's the CEO. That's the guy for me. You know, I just watching Lifetime. Okay. My mom just had like a fucking surgery, so she was watching fucking shit ton of Lifetime shows. There's always a fucking scene where the woman sees the guy, and he's like, by the way, yeah, I'm a lawyer, and she's like, she perks up and she looks at him.
Okay, so you just went like guy who wins rodeo, CEO, lawyer. Okay, so there's a huge fucking range of people there that might associate different things with status and seek out those like different kinds of people, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And you're not speaking to a desire to be transactional there. You're just kind of like talking about different positions that people who also likely have other attractive attributes to them find themselves in. Whether it's if it's the rodeo guy, you're talking about someone who's strong, who's athletic, who's persistent, who trains a lot. If it's a CEO, you're talking about someone who's confident, financially successful, has a lot of like, professional success to show for their place in life. If like all of these things, they aren't like the woman isn't going to not everybody gets the CEO, not everybody gets like the winner of the rodeo. You're talking about like the apex of what people like generally find attractive.
Yeah, we're talking about the apex, yeah.
Yeah, but that exists on a spectrum. There's closer to that. There's a little bit farther away. There's miles and miles away from it. And I think everything that you just mentioned, like confidence, all of these things are, I do think, like in the end, are going to amount to safety and security. And that whether or not they're intending on that being the endpoint for the transaction would still doesn't matter if they're intending on it. It matters if that's the endpoint for the transaction.
I'll amend then. I think that women are not actually. So yeah, women probably aren't. Okay, the smart women are, but most women aren't like seeing it in such a transactional way. But they're the way that women are engaging in dating just has this transaction built into it.
Well, I mean, you're just everybody has
smart women know
transactional element built into the way they're engaging in the relationships. You haven't like broken apart the way men engage with their relationships versus like a transactionality. We value different things, and Tom, like as Tom alluded to, there's like an evolutionary basis for the like really really base characteristics that like.
I thought you rejected that. You rejected that earlier, so
no,
I don't think you did.
I did not. I said that there's no like biologically essential difference in the way that we build friendships. I didn't say that. I said that it was all socialization as far as I can tell, and I would need really compelling evidence to suggest otherwise. What I'm saying is that there are obvious biological predispositions for like what women are generally going to find attractive and what men are generally going to find attractive. Those are like evolutionarily inlaid things that diverge for some people.
Wait,
for sure.
and Smeth,
don't
I
agree.
feel like this is a point
That's
against
just wrong,
you because
you're just wrong about that. There's no way to argue around that.
I feel like Smeth, you were saying earlier that like women are not interested in scrutinizing potential mates based on an individual basis in the way that men are, where you're saying they focus on personality, looks, and things that are specific to each woman that they're engaging with. But if we back up a little bit when we were talking about friendships and like socialization, isn't female socializing focused more heavily on like one-to-one relationships, and then like male socializing, like Tom illustrated with the sports example, usually extends to like large group networks that have kind of like shallower relationships. Like again, like you're on your team and you're kind of acquaintances with everybody, but are you like really close friends with any one individual person? No, as opposed to women who maybe don't find themselves in group activities in the same way, but they have closer one-to-one bonds. So how does it then follow that from their dating preferences, men are doing the exact opposite if they already have a tendency to have to be okay with a more shallow relationship?
Okay, wait, let me recenter this. Okay, look, it sucks for both. Okay, both men and women fucking suck. Okay, there's all like we whenever anybody makes one criticism of one, we're gonna criticize the other, and we can go this loop. But how like so can we identify the things like, so I think that in general, I think it's a very good, very solid claim that women and men both have unhealthy standards for each other given the time and year, and we don't have a realistic vision of what an ideal mate is, like a ideal life partner is. We don't have a really like a men's like vision of like their like future girlfriend is like some fucking, I don't know, like manic pixie dream girl or whatever, and women want like, you know, Mr. CEO, Mr. Rodeo, whatever.
But is that an unhealthy standard? I think the standard is fine. It's how you go about you know, trying to actualize those standards, or like, you know, is it a deal breaker? You know, it's like
can you explain why it's unhealthy?
Be a deal breaker. Yeah.
Me?
Yes.
Yes, I think that because women have so much more options and they are vetting people. So I think that because our
So it's going to
standards
be
just
unhealthy on a societal level and not on an interpersonal level.
our standards keep getting higher. That means women have more access to the people that they want, and men have less access to the people that they want, and men's standards keep getting higher too. And it
I don't
means
know.
pushing men to.
Hold on, because wouldn't a lot of this play into like feminism changing how like women's socioeconomic place in society, especially their economic place in society, where they're having more and more powerful jobs, they're rising in positions, they're working more and more high-ranking positions. Obviously, if they're still looking for status above themselves, this is going to limit the amount of men on average that are going to fall into their dating pool. Wouldn't that like, but is that necessarily unhealthy, or is the unhealthy part that there's just less men that fall into their dating pool?
It's unhealthy. That I think as we liberate women, we need to like stop having different standards for each other.
You mean we need to start, wait, okay. So you
What's
mean
wrong with different standards?
So you mean women would have to adjust their standards for men?
Yeah.
Because what would men have to adjust there?
Men's standards are just stupid. Men's standards are just like pretty and stuff like that.
Well, so
like,
they would have to be more willing to date up on the socioeconomic scale, and women would have to be more willing to date down. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean the standards men have hurt women because women have to fucking wear makeup and they have to try to stay young and all that shit. But that's not changing. The thing that's changing
that's going to change.
I know, but I want it to change, but that isn't changing. But what is changing is women are now empowered financially and they have careers and jobs. And so that's the thing, that's the place. And so their selection needs to reflect that.
There's a lot of social pressure on like men are subject to increasing levels of like social pressure to remain attractive and look a certain way too. I mean, that's obviously just part of like the evolution of entertainment and like the digital media age. Men are seeing the same kind of standards broadcast for like unrealistic standards broadcast for the way that they should maintain their bodies and stuff. And I used to work in a gym. I could count on one hand the number of people that had like a good reason for why they were going so far like beyond the like maintenance level with their physical fitness. But I mean, people were openly taking steroids and stuff just to try to like
but even that's horrible. Because have you ever like talking to women, dude? Like so many fucking women don't like fucking muscular guys. You have to be like the sweet spot. Once you get a little bit too muscular, they don't like you anymore.
Yeah, but those guys don't realize that. They literally have like body dysmorphia, and they think that they look better and better the bigger that they get, and they are told by society, like by social influences the same way as women, that they should have these rigid six packs. You've got guys like the fucking Rock out there who's like 50 years old, who swears he's never done a steroid in his life, and the guy could like probably test for more testosterone than a horse on any given day. And it's just like,
so I have a question. Okay, so earlier we were, and I know this is super lame, but like we were using like biological ideas to say that this is probably evolutionary biology ideas to say this is probably why women seek out safety and therefore seek out some sort of status. And I would say that's probably the same for men looking for younger women as well. So if that's the case, what else is there outside of this that's actually socialized that we could change, or standards that we would be able to
I've got you.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay.
Wait, really quick. I have a perfect answer. Women need to be able to see the safety in their own status. They're like you have the career. You're the fucking man now. You have that. You don't need it. You've got it.
I don't know.
I
don't know if that's ever going to be.
You can
good
fuck
enough.
a sexy You're a 32-year-old woman and you've got the career. You can fuck a sexy 22-year-old guy if you want. Whatever the like.
She can, but will she enter into a long-term relationship with him?
I mean, like, why would she?
And
It
again,
sucks.
that's another problem like with this discussion is that we keep conflating like hooking up with a guy like that as like that's dating or whatever, and it's like,
Mhm.
well,
No,
that's
but
like
no, but
that's
the,
just a hookup. She's probably
but
not going to a
We are
career woman
talking
in her
about
30s
dating,
is
right?
not going to like
yeah, we're talking about dating, but
We're
the reason I
talking
said
about
that is
dating.
because men will date like a younger woman like that because they're all they care about is the sex. They've got the job and whatever. They don't need like a life partner. They've got a
I
stable
don't think
career.
that's
But
true.
women
I
don't
think
see it that way.
I don't. Yeah, I
men
don't. I
also men
go ahead.
also have I'm sure men also have a preference for women with strong earning capacity. It's just not to the extent that women currently do.
Yeah, so there's like there's kind of like a marker for like the wall that you first have to break through in order for the other things to matter. And so for women that first wall is status, for men that first wall is attractiveness. For women, you can have the status and all of a sudden in their eyes you are now more attractive to them. Or you have the confidence, you have these things, now you are more attractive to them in their eyes. Whereas men, it's like almost purely like a physical thing, you have to be attractive. Then obviously, if you are like a lunatic and laugh like a crazy person and do stupid stuff around their family, obviously the attractiveness is not the only thing that matters. Now all of a sudden there's a bunch of other things that they can start grading you on.
Well,
Just
you're
as for
pointing to
women,
disposition, but I think that like something that could be like her like a woman's looks is not always going to overwhelm other negative aspects about her. So if you're
that's
young and
exactly what I'm
23,
saying. That's exactly
oh,
what
okay,
I'm
okay,
saying.
okay.
I'm saying there's the first wall that you break through, and then all of a
Mm.
sudden the other things now matter. And so for the woman, it's status. For the man, it's going to be looks. But the personality, whether or not you make them laugh, personal chemistry between one another, all of these other things also still matter to them. So we can't just say just because this is the first wall to break through, this is all that matters. It's not. But but it is the first wall to break through. Yeah.
Well,
Frankly, there's also
the thing
something
that
to
I
be
want to
said
challenge
about the way
about
that, like, okay, sorry, go ahead, Straighterade. It's a struggle without the camera. I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. This is part like
You can-
the difference that Tom, I don't know that we completely agree because what you're breaking it down to is like a metric that's really hard to quantify. Like, oh, how much he likes her personality, or like what constitutes a good personality is going to be like differ so much on an individual basis that's not something
Right.
you
I
could ever
mentioned
like calculate on.
chemistry.
What I'm
I
talking
said
about is like
chemistry.
well, chemistry again, but like that's hard to quantify. Like I would go based off
Of
of like,
course.
okay, so a man's attracted to like a young, beautiful 23-year-old woman, but if she struggles with substance abuse and she already has 2 kids from a previous relationship, that's already something that's going to disqualify or like likely disqualify a man from seeing her as anything other than like a hookup. He's not going to have a relationship with her.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
probably
I
mainly
agree with
just
all of
the
this. This is
children
similar to
that's
what
like
I was saying.
the deal breaker there, right? Like, I think more people associate children with a deal breaker in terms of like relationship viability than anything else. In terms of like maybe criminal history might be another big one, which probably
Mhm.
more predominantly affects men. But I think that things like past use of like illicit substances or past behavior, like generally speaking, it seems like only the things that really have big implications on your present day relationships
Hmm.
are ones that are big disqualifying factors in my experience.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, with all of that said, Smith, so what is it that we're looking at that we can actually change or that you would want to change?
Yeah, okay, so I just don't think that it is biologically determined, or I don't believe it. I don't, it could be, but I don't believe that it's biologically determined that women see status and men just see physical appearance. Um, I have,
Nobody's saying that, though. Nobody's saying that they
okay,
just see that.
so if it's not biologically determined, that means it's social, and we can have a
That's not.
different
I'm sorry.
conversation about it.
Okay. I am saying that those two things are likely have some sort of biological undertones to
Basis.
them. Yes.
Yeah.
But there are other things that matter as well. So when you say that's all that matters, I'm saying no, nobody here is saying that that's all that matters, but those things are very high on the scale of what is important to people.
I
So
think as I think these days the first wall breach that we're talking about is more important than it ever was in the past. It's with the way that people are dating with like online stuff and like fucking apps and shit. It's all like surface and like you have to really get over that wall.
Have you
Women are
considered
given
that like this is probably pretty specific to the like you're saying a lot of things that sound like you're saying them on like a really general societal level, but you're talking about specific groups of people. Like here, you're talking about people who use like dating apps like Tinder.
we're talking about the
yeah.
internet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
the
we even
internet,
know
yeah.
that like most relationships are being started based off of like Tinder dates and stuff like that? Like if I had to guess, I have no evidence to support this, that most people will try their hand at Tinder, at like any of the at Hinge or Grindr or whatever, and they quickly abandon them because they don't work out for them, and then they start to try to find different avenues to get a, start dating somebody, namely a workplace, school, social engagements, maybe
Yeah.
like churches and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a high percentage of people. So it's around 80% of people who have used internet dating sites or Instagram or something like that to find another partner. But I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
even
we have
that's
data
like
that says that this is the majority of the time. Because I highly doubt that it would ever be the majority of the time. I think most of the time you find partners at work, at school, in your neighborhood. Like this is why like
even to that point.
socioeconomics matters a lot as well, is because it's always the people around you doing the same things that you're doing, which means it's likely always going to be within your socioeconomic class.
Even to the point that you just made, Tom, saying that like you met someone, like that you've dated online, as a really general statement could incorporate a huge number of unique and really specific ways to, like, different dating apps function enormously differently. Tinder is just like one example of a really hypersexualized, fast-paced marketplace that favors a really, really small percentage of people. There's also a huge variety of other apps, as well as like non-sexualized or non-dating marketplaces like Instagram and Facebook that people meet too. And like I would say that meeting someone on Facebook that you form a long-term relationship with is different from meeting someone on Tinder as like meeting someone in the grocery store versus meeting someone on Tinder.
Sure.
Like these are miles apart. The only the only
Sure.
common factor is internet.
Look. Okay, so there's another
Well,
part of
hold
this.
on.
So there's a lot
I
that goes
disagree
into my
with that
fucking
though.
worldview. Okay.
I'm sorry, I disagree with that because I think most of the time on the internet, it is going to be purely physical. You're normally judging mostly based on a profile picture more than anything else. I know lots of apps like Match or whatever have like a bunch of grading factors where they show you like your chemistry likelihood and all of this other stuff. But I think most of the time it's going to come down to whatever their pictures in that on that app are going to show
Most
you.
of the dates that you have in real life are going to come down to who you do and don't find like physically attractive in appearance and stuff. This is not to say that there's like zero common factors beyond the fact that they're both on the internet. The other common factors would apply to like all spheres of
I
dating.
agree with
I
this,
get,
but Smeth's problem has more to do with the way that we're interacting online and that it comes down to more physicality than anything else. Whereas in person, there will always be some sort of personal chemistry there. Whereas online, there's just pretty much none of that whatsoever.
it
And so
depends
this
if you're
There is
dating
though,
off
there
of
is. I just
4chan or
need
you're
to
dating off of
clarify on that though.
Discord.
This isn't entirely fair, because when you meet someone on like Facebook or Instagram, it's typically through having mutual friends and connections, mutual interests,
True.
and things
True,
that
that'll
like
exist.
spontaneously start a conversation. It's not because you're on Instagram or Facebook like seeking out someone to solicit for dates. There's a completely different way to engage with the medium that leads to the same end result, but with a much, much less focused emphasis and with a much less hypersexualized marketplace to
Yes,
engage.
that's what I'm saying though, is that the emphasis is going to be more physical online than it will be in person.
But that's for
I
men,
don't
and
think
then
I
for
don't
women
think
it'll
that's
be
that's
always going
status
to have
or
like a physical attractiveness that you engage with on a surface level right away in person too, right? That's going to dictate who you do and don't
sure.
pursue
These
romance.
differences exist, but I want to say something that's going to sort of bridge the gap, or at least make the playing field more where you're going to have more to disagree with me and have in common with each other. I think that maybe you'll agree. I think that the conversation should be moving toward online, and I think online is going to be much less personal than in real life, like to some degree, like it's going to be more superficial, more flippant in various ways, and we're moving towards that. And not only are we moving into a hyper technologized world, I think that all the traditional or more intimate ways of dating people or meeting people are now becoming more ostracized, especially on part of men. If you're like we're seeing all this shit, like don't fucking hit on women in the fucking gym, like, and it's just like it's getting more and more like men hitting on women is like more like, oh no, and you're only really free to express your sexuality and all that. It's only safe if you're doing it on these fucking flippant places like Tinder and shit.
Yeah, that is one of the only places that it's going to be safe to like express your sexuality in ways that make other people uncomfortable. And what you're talking about are like discouraging of like inappropriate ways, in my opinion, as a person who's fucking worked in a gym and had people of both genders and like age groups and stuff say, hey, please, like, don't let this person follow me around and fucking harass me anymore. Please,
I was
like,
about to say,
this
Smith,
is
isn't that kind of reasonable? Like when you said like women don't even want to be hit on, it's like, yeah, it's one. I think that is a reasonable. It would be unreasonable to say.
No.
I guess like if a woman said, I don't want men to talk to me at all.
There's
That's
stalkers,
two different
and
things,
I'm
though.
not stalkers. Like having stalkers at the gym is different from like some guy like asking like to help like fucking do some fucking thing. But I don't think that's reasonable, because I don't think it's reasonable that women are the ones constantly being the vetting person and men are the pursuers. I think we need to have, if women don't want to, if women don't want to have to deal with the consequences of their social role where they have to constantly vet men, which fucking sucks, and it sucks to have to be like a fucking predator and fucking have to seek out women all the fucking time. Both of those suck. If women don't like their end of that fucking awful bargain, then they should pursue.
I could flip that on you.
Fuck you. They should pursue men more. They should be.
I could flip that on you and say that men shouldn't be so creepy then.
Yes, men should be more like withholding of their pursuit, and they shouldn't chase women as much, and women should chase men more, and that would balance the playing field. But instead, we demonize men for the pursuit, and women can do no wrong because it's always on the.
I mean,
that's
on
the dude. Hold on. Wait. Okay, hold on. We are demonizing men on a very like individual level for them doing it the wrong way. We don't demonize men societally or socially for pursuing women. Like generally, we say that men are supposed to be the ones who are pursuing. So we aren't demonizing men like across the board. It's not a stigmatized thing to go approach a woman and ask her for her phone number.
I think it is stigmatized, and only because like you're not wrong, but we're not telling men how to do it the right way. And any description of how to do it the right way is going to come from the fucking crazy red pill guys, and it's going to be exploitative. So you're telling them how it can be bad. You're telling men how it can be inappropriate. You're a great risk of making women uncomfortable, of being a creep. You're not telling them how to do it right. So I think it is effectively stigmatized against.
Smeth, the kind of behavior you're suggesting where like you strategically look for opportunities to like pretend you're looking to help a woman so you can initiate a conversation in the gym and hit on them, that's toxic behavior that you should not be encouraging in other people.
I didn't say that. That's not what I said.
Exploiting open opportunities to try to turn the gym into your dating marketplace. That is unhealthy, and that's the kind of behavior that causes things like fucking curves gyms to need to exist. Places where
so
women
you're saying all that. That's not what I said. But what if you're next to a woman at the gym and you're not seeking out some fucking thing like you told me I said, but I didn't say? What if she's like just like you're using the same weights and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna strike up a conversation. She seems cool, and then you go for it.
What are the intentions
fucking kill your,
what are the intentions there? Are the intentions there genuinely to aid this
These are
woman,
such rare things. I don't know why we're even talking about this.
Okay?
Yes, this is so rare.
This does not happen. This like man who goes up to a woman at the gym, or who's just like working out next to a woman at the gym and is like,
that's
hey,
happened to me.
And she's like, fuck you, I hope you die. This is not what happens, and that is a gross mischaracterization of even the most ridiculous of those online videos.
I know that doesn't. Yes, true. It's true. But that's the message that we're sending to people, and I think it's becoming more and more and more like that.
Well, so hold on.
When you take away from the message, like when somebody says, hey, don't go up to women and hit on them at the gym as just like a general rule, and you hear that as like, oh, if I go up to a woman and like have a pleasant interaction, I make any kind of pleasantry at all, she's totally going to like lose her mind and scream at me. And like,
I know.
You take like misinterpreting the changing social standard around how we like expect to behave around each other and like how we value each other's privacy in these spaces where
Smith,
women's privacy traditionally hasn't been very valued.
It's a huge self-report that you were conflating like a guy going up to talk to a woman as like the same as like, oh, he must necessarily like men are trying to like flirt with a woman every single time that he does that. Don't you think?
No, I don't.
Okay,
why not? Because you were saying that like you're like men can't even go up to women to like flirt with them at the gym or like hit on them, and it's like, yeah, that's not so bad, but no one's saying that men can't talk to women at the gym. Or I have seen that, but I think it's a reactionary take.
Sure. I think that men or young men. Okay, so I'm 29. I have no problem talking to women. I think when I was 22, I did. And if I was at the gym at 22 and in this current environment, I would be terrified to talk to women at the gym. I wouldn't. I don't know how to do it right if I'm a 22-year-old. So I'm just not gonna do it.
You
Why would
shouldn't
you
as
be
a
terrified?
29-year-old either if your goal is to like try to initiate dates with people. It's entirely up to you to have that intention at the gym when you're like going looking for opportunities to interact with people, which is like how you framed it initially is like this is a good place to meet people socially, and you should like go up to people, you should be like encouraged to go up to people and kind of like strike up conversations with them, and you would do it via like offering to help them with their weights or something like that. That is a very toxic and manipulative way to try and like start a dating conversation by approaching someone at the gym and being like, hey, I see you need help with that. Oh, by the way, my name is Smeth. Like, you know what women like hear when you go up and do that? They don't hear like, oh, this person's offering to help me. They hear this person is trying to like hit on me. That is
Okay,
a very
so
transparent like motivation that you're kind of endorsing here.
Is it transparent or is it manipulative? Because it can't be both.
It's deceptive. It's
Yeah,
deceptive.
it can.
Is
It
it
can
deceptive
like,
or
the-
is it
you're-
It can be a
transparent?
bad attempt at
It's
Is it
it can be a bad
deceptive
attempt at
or is it
manipulating.
transparent, motherfucker? Is it deceptive or is it transparent?
Just
No,
because
it's
they're not
manipulative
doing
because
it
of your
well doesn't
intent.
mean
It's
that women can't
transparent
tell.
because it's a shitty attempt. Hold on,
Yeah.
hold on. It's transparent because it's a bad attempt. It's manipulative because of your intent.
I don't think
to
it's
start
I
up
don't
a
think it's
conversation under
manipulative. I
false
think it's an
pretenses.
obvious I
Two
think
different
it's an
things.
obvious ploy. It's an obvious ploy to get attention. You're saying, "Okay, I think you're interesting. I'm going to ask you if you want to collaborate on our working out right now because you seem interesting. We're both working out. We have something in common. Do you want to collaborate on this?"
Exactly, it's an obvious
That's
ploy.
not
Why would
fucking
any woman be
manipulative.
attracted
To
to that?
call that manipulative is to demonize men hitting on women whatsoever.
You just said it's an
No,
obvious
no, it's not,
ploy.
because women aren't just in the gym existing in a neutral state where the expectation is that you can just go up to them and ask them for their
Well, okay.
number just
If
like
you
you would
want the
anyone.
expectation not to be for men to go up to women and ask them for their number, then we're going to have more egalitarianism in our and women need to be approaching men and men need to or we can all just go to fucking Tinder and get drunk in dating bars.
Hold on, I gotta get okay. So listen, men going up to women is not like a bad thing. Women are attracted to men coming up to them. They like charisma, they like confidence. These are things that like you going up to them is showing them. Men aren't attracted to those things as much. They are attracted to them, just not as much as women are. And so it is like a good starting point for a man to go and approach a woman. That now when we're talking about men approaching women, we don't stigmatize it just happening across the board. There's good and bad ways of doing this. And I think we can all recognize this. Like, we always have good and bad ways of doing things. You don't just walk up behind a woman and slap her over the head with a freaking pipe or something so that maybe she'll sleep with you. Like, there's always good and bad ways of doing this. And especially in the gym, most people say, hey, don't start asking out a girl that you've never seen before, you've never talked to before, you have no sort of rapport with her. That's the type of like approach that people stigmatize. If you go look at like the most recent video where the girl got all mad at the guy, and there's a bunch of these videos of girls like turning around and being like, why are you looking at me? You don't need to help me. It's mostly everybody getting mad at the girl for how she reacted. People, their reactions are what get stigmatized, not the way that the man approached them. We can say that's not a good way, while it's not a demonized way. It's not you didn't do a bad thing. You just didn't do it. You didn't do it in the best way. And so that's what people are talking about: is there are good and bad ways, or there are better and worse ways of doing this. And I think we can all find like the most the best way of approaching a woman in a way that she'll feel respected and she'll feel more inclined to say yes. And I think that that's normally building a rapport over time.
I like what you're saying, but I don't think that's the conversation. What Portland was saying was he was saying all men kind of going up to a woman's bed.
Smith, I need to explain a couple of really like important distinctions about the gym as an environment where you need to feel comfortable versus one where you have the feeling that you're going to be engaged with without like your desire.
Wait, can you answer what he just said? Because do you think that the way that I explained it, you should have a rapport with a woman before you start asking for her number versus just going up and hitting on her? Like, do you think
like there are there are socially appropriate ways to ask someone for their contact info after you've organically interacted with them, even at the gym, even up to and including places where they are at their most vulnerable. If you have the organic,
and you're vulnerable, you need to be protected at the gym. But what you just said, they're organic, so that's the problem. Okay, so let's say that you go to the gym every day, and for like a month you've seen this woman that goes to the gym every day, and you think that she's giving you glances and you don't know, and you know, so you're like, I wanna ask her, because she's not gonna come over here, and I'm the man, I have to fucking do this.
No,
and I don't fucking know, so I'm gonna go and ask her.
Glances are not an organic interaction. Glances
I know they're not. No, I know they're not. I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying there are. I'm not saying they're. I'm not saying they are. I'm saying, okay, so we've also established men are more socially isolated.
No,
so this organic. Men are more socially isolated.
Not in the gym. In the gym, men are a lot less socially isolated.
Whatever.
A lot
in general,
okay.
In general,
no,
men are more socially isolated in general.
The gym is a place to seek to meet.
Example.
Okay.
No, it's not a place to seek out sexual. I'm just an example of a place where it's stigmatized against. It's not a place to seek out sexual partners.
There should be a certain stigma around approaching people with romantic intentions at the gym. Yes, there should be a certain.
Okay, so let's say the example. I don't know. I don't really think I agree. I think that so what I'm trying to say though, you're saying
there should be limits on it, not a there should be limits.
It shouldn't be a stigma. Yeah, so we need the organic before we can do the other thing, but men are more socially isolated. We don't have the organic so much. So like you have to, if you how do you throw your hat in the ring at having an organic interaction with somebody? How do you start making friends? How do you start talking to women when you don't have any women in your social group?
You're talking about dating at the gym.
That's an inorganic interaction. If you've thrown your hat in the ring, you've created an interaction where one was not organically occurring. Being in the same,
you can never do it. So if you listen to what I'm saying, so if you don't already have women in your social group, there's no organic way.
No, okay, hold on. There is. Okay, so real quick, you can say things like hi to somebody as you're passing them. You can say, hey, I like those pants. Those are dope, as you're passing them. Over time, you might start to learn each other's names. You might start to you might stop when you say hey to each other and start to spark up a conversation. There's lots of organic ways of doing this without just walking up and asking for their phone number. There's lots of ways of gaining rapport with somebody and being around them for long periods of time before you just jump into, hey, can I get your number?
Well, those comments in themselves, I think Portland would say are inorganic. Like saying oh, I like your pants at the at the gym. It's very stigmatized against. I mean, we could I think that stigma at the gym is expanding more. That it's just more like if you do this to women, if you go up to a woman and say, hey, I like your pants. What are you trying to flirt with me? You know,
Straighterade,
it entirely depends on your intent. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, would you what is a good way for a guy to approach a girl at a gym?
To me, the purpose of the gym is for people to exercise and work out. I don't think it's even a good mindset for you to go to the gym with any other priority other than trying to improve your health and to exercise. Again, everyone understands it's a social place. I don't think that people need to not speak to each other. I think it is a good idea to or it's fine to talk to people at the gym. It's a social environment. But Smeth, I think it's kind of like a toxic way, or it's not.
Well, so hold on.
I think it's a good prescription to say that people should even go to the gym as a place, again, to potentially meet people.
I don't think that's true. So that's literally everywhere. Everywhere has another intent for it. Unless you're going to the bar, that's the only place where there's the idea that you're going to go hook up with somebody or meet somebody. But if you're going to church, if you're going to work, if you're going anywhere else, there's some other intent there.
Okay? As a person who has worked in the gym and built intimately interacted with the user base, people don't, especially the people Straighterades talking about, they don't go to the gym for fun. It's a kind of work. It's a kind of obligatory self-maintenance and self-improvement.
Right. And I just included church. I included work. I'm including all other places where there's another intent there, but those are still the places that you meet people.
Work is another place where you shouldn't go to socially.
Yes, go to do that.
That's the place where we meet the most. That's where
exactly. So hold on, wait. I'm trying to bring this back. Hold on. I'm trying to bring this back. So all of these other places have their own intents in them. And that is kind of to Smeth's point, is that like the internet ends up being the place to go where you get on these apps and you go to like, you know, the dating place and you start finding women in these ways, because everywhere has its own intent or like what the purpose of that place is. But this is where normal people are meeting people, where they're around other folks. There ends up being a general way of building a rapport with them over time, and then you start going out with them or whatever. Like it's very different from just approaching and saying, hey babe, like wanna smack cheeks, like, but the you know, there's also like, you know, long-term building rapport with people, talking to them, and like building a
I know.
relationship
Well,
over
as
time.
that, but as a side effect, I think that's the difference. That's the like impasse that we're at right now. Is that in any of those places that you listed, whether it's Twitter and online in general, whether it's church, whether it's the gym, you should not be ever like entering any of these spaces with the intention of like this is going to be a good place for it. It's fine to acknowledge that like yeah, I could potentially meet somebody here, but I think
We're
it's
not saying
not.
that space specifically. We're saying all social places, all
I know,
places
I
where
just
there
I just
are
named all of the
people.
places. Everybody can acknowledge that there's social environments where you have the potential to meet a mate and stuff like
Right.
that. But I think if you're unable to reconcile like, hey, I might not meet somebody at the gym, I might never meet somebody on Twitter, you
Mhm.
should be comfortable with that. I think the
Yeah.
toxic thing would be that like if you're just viewing these things as like this is a playground for me to like meet people to date and fuck or whatever, like you're already not acknowledging that that clearly isn't your priority, or like the stated priority of those places is not the reason why you're there.
Yeah,
So
but
again,
that
like
does
if
mean
somebody
that it
goes to
goes
the
back to
gym
the
to work
internet
out,
or the
yeah,
bar, and that's it. Like you have the internet and the bar, and then there's really nowhere else. So like, and I'm not saying that you should go to these places with that intent, but I'm saying that people should be encouraged to start talking to other people in social places and start like making building relationships with people in other places
Yeah.
outside of just the internet and the bar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
healthy
my friend,
social,
so
yeah,
so
with
a
healthy
while back.
social
Let me say
behaviors
something real
in
quick.
mind.
Look,
Go
so
ahead.
a while back, I was way more like 3 years ago. I was way more like misogynistic. I was getting blackpilled about like meeting women, and I just wasn't. So my friends are like, "Oh, well, you're gonna have to fucking get out there and meet more women." So it's like they told me you need to start going to the gym. And I didn't. I went to the gym because I went to the gym because I want to meet more. I didn't. I like flirted with a couple people like over the course of like a year and a half, like a couple times. I never asked anyone out. I kind of thought I might, but I never did. But that was my intent originally because I wanted to be more social and meet more people. And I came out enjoying working out. Is
I
that
think that was a
evil?
no, not I'm not saying that it's evil, but I'm saying do you think it's a better mindset to go to the gym with the intention of just getting strong, or do you think it was a better mindset for you to enter it like, okay, yeah, I can get strong, but like my main priority here is to make friends? What is a healthier mindset to you?
I don't think it
I
has
don't
to be
know.
one or the other. You keep
It
Straighterade
speaks
every
to
time you come back to like you're going there just to meet people, and I don't think anybody's doing that. I think we're saying like it could be a good like consequence of you being around other people
I
that you
think
happen to
Smith
meet
just
someone.
acknowledged that he literally said he joined a gym for social reasons and that fitness reasons
Yeah,
and fitness goals were not his intention.
Okay.
Okay,
they
and
were
like hold on.
secondary.
I wanna try and like bridge the gap here and also understand Smeth's position a little bit better, because like one of the main reasons that I go to the gym is to play pickup basketball. It's like my favorite exercise, and it's inherently like a social and group activity. I have like a group of guys that I met through that activity that we go regularly at the same times, and that's like one of my favorite social avenues to like have recreational relationships. But the problem comes in trying to blur the lines between a place to make recreational relationships and a place to form romantic ones. You can have one lead to the other, but if your intention is to seek out the romantic ones, the gym is
Mhm.
a really bad place to do that.
Yeah.
And there
It's
are a
not a
lot
great
of
place.
reasons
Yeah.
why, similar
Yeah.
to
Well.
the
Well.
reason that
Well.
it would be like a really bad way to enter the workplace, specifically to find a romantic partner. You're
Mhm.
going to
Sure.
go to the workplace understanding that there's a possibility that through some organic interactions and proximity to other people, you might have the opportunity to form a relationship. Like my last girlfriend before I met my wife, I met through work. She was like a sales rep and I was a store manager. She was coming through and like selling product to me. We interacted or like completely organically for a few weeks, and then eventually we started to just like we exchanged numbers and we started texting. And that was like what I would say is a really healthy example of like leaving the opportunity open, like the door open for the opportunity without prioritizing that as part of the engagement or like looking for that as the engagement in the workplace.
Exactly.
Yeah, because so hey, yes, I agree with all that. But let's say you got a fucking NEET, and they're like desperate, and they're like, I just want to fucking date. I want to fucking get laid. I'm a virgin. Okay. And what do you tell them? So like you tell them we tell them you need to talk to women better, or you tell them you should get a job, you should start working out, you should go to these places, because if you do that, you're going to start meeting people, and that's going to greatly increase your chances. I think you should say that.
The latter. I would tell them the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
but
I think
how does that lead to, okay, so I should go to the gym looking to approach people for romantic relationships?
Well,
Like,
so when I went, so wait. So when I went to the gym, I was advised to, because I would meet women there. I went there, yeah, but I'm not like I'm not like but I went there because it would increase my chances of meeting women. And I went there, I was looking around. There's not really a lot of flirting opportunities or dating opportunities. This doesn't seem like the great place. So there wasn't a lot, but that's why I went. But I still judged the situation correctly. I didn't fucking stalk anybody, or I didn't make anyone uncomfortable. I like, over the course of 2 years, I like made like 2 flirtatious comments ever, and they went great. But even though they went great, it just wasn't an opportunity to ask for a number. So
that's great. I'm trying to explain, like, you're the one that is taking the position that women have like this fundamentally more transactional view of relationships. Somehow we've ended up in like dating dynamics and how men and women should go about trying to meet people in a healthy way. You offered the gym and the notion that someone should like go up and like help someone with their weights as a way to introduce themselves. And I'm just trying to disabuse you of the notion that that is a really good, healthy mentality to take into the gym. I think that you need to understand the differences in like the social expectations aligned with different places. I would say it's totally fine to walk up to someone at like, in like a sporting event or something like that, or like, a public event where everybody is kind of like on equal footing and there for something recreational.
This was Orange Theory. So it was classes, and Orange Theory is marketed more to women. So I was like, oh, there's going to be mostly women there. It's going to be classes, so we're communally doing this, and but it still wasn't a great, like, so nobody was fucking talking, so that's why it didn't end up happening.
Are we able to recenter this?
I would like to. I mean,
well, can I make one final thing with this?
Please do.
It's just that there's so many, like, you guys were asking me for like, oh, how do you think the right way to approach somebody at the gym is? And I feel like that's the wrong question entirely. I feel like you have to back up so much before that's even an important question to ask, because the more important question to ask is that if you are lonely and you're single and you're a man and you feel like, okay, how do I, extricate myself from the situation? If your first thought is, I'm going to join the gym, and not only will I get stronger, but it has the benefits of being a social environment, I might meet somebody, I still think that that's the wrong way to be approaching constructing your social life. I think there's a reason that women are more comfortable and report being more comfortable being single, and it's because, again, like what we were talking about, they have closer friendships already. So not only if men want to become better at dating, they also first need to become more comfortable with being single, and that starts with just forming friendships, both co-ed friendships, with men and with women. And then once you can prioritize, forming friendships and build like a social network, I think at that point you're in a better position for you to understand how you can, go about dating somebody, or maybe turning some of these friendships into something romantic if you feel the attraction is there.
Not
I
even
think
just that.
It's the wrong question to ask. Like, what do you do at the gym? But continue.
Yeah, no,
not even just that. I think having friends also is going to give you the ability to like meet more people, and you're going to go do social things with them and possibly meet other people through them. And so, yeah, I think lots of it starts with having like personal bonds with other people.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're somebody who's single, like
like
you're not gonna, and you don't know how to pick somebody up, like how do you expect to go from like a single, like if you view yourself again like low self-esteem, you think you're a loser, you're not in shape, how do you expect to like, okay, day whatever at the gym, day 20, I expect that I can, pick some woman up at the gym, and it's like you don't have any friends or anything. Like, would you even date you?
And
like
you're missing out on, like I was saying before,
Wow.
hold on. The other really quick, the other aspect to that Straighterade was just hitting on is that like you're missing, if that's what you're focused on, you're missing like the huge social opportunity to make peers in your like age and kind of workout demographics and stuff instead of looking for romantic partners. Because if you're trying to pursue a woman at the gym, odds are like you're probably doing different exercises or exercises of different intensity, and you have a lot of maneuvering to try and find a convenient social circumstance to engage with them. Whereas if you go and engage with people who are participating in like really similar activities, you form groups and bonds based on that. Not only are you more likely to stick to those gym activities, they're going to be healthier, more productive gym activities, both physically and socially. It's a much better use of your time in a place that most people feel they're going to out of obligation, like women at least feel they're going to out of obligation, whereas men feel like they're going to for recreation in a lot.
I think there's an even better way to do that, where you approach the girl, but the first time you approach her, you act like you're gay. And then, hey, girlfriend, let me help you with that. And over time, keep approaching her, but get straighter and straighter over time. And eventually, you'll just be like the straight dude that knows her.
You're going to get a lot of attention from gay dudes at the gym with that strategy, Tom. The gay dudes at the gym are the most aggressive gay dudes out there, okay?
You got to play that part as well. Yeah, you got to walk out holding a dude's hand once in a while at the beginning, but later on, you know.
Yeah, you're getting laid if you adopt that strategy at the gym. You're just going to have to adjust your preferences in the marketplace a little bit.
Yeah, women love the bait and switch like that. Smeth, you said wow when I was making comments about like, okay, you're like, you're probably fucking. Wait, like, let me just say this: like, if it's in your terms, if I'm speaking sexual marketplace terms, I'm just saying you can't go from a 2 to a 10 overnight. Okay, you can go from a 2 to a 5, and then from a 5 to an 8, and then from an 8 to a 10. But what you're saying is like, again, how am I supposed to encourage somebody who's at a 2 to go to a 10 overnight? And I'm saying that's just literally not possible. You have to work on yourself slowly.
I don't think all these people that are lonely are 2s. I think a lot of these people that are lonely, they have I think a lot of them are like fucking 8s and shit. Like I honestly, I don't even see it.
Well, you're talking physically, right? I think she means more in like a social capacity, like people who have.
But I think there's a lot of men that are actually like they have decent social skills. They just don't know how to meet new people.
Okay, but that means they have very limited social skills. Like
I don't. So hold on. Wait. Okay, hold on. I've had a lot of romantic relationships, lots of long-term romantic relationships my entire life. Every girl that I've ever dated approached me. Every girl I've ever dated asked me out. I now at 34 years old have no clue how to approach a woman. I have no clue how to do this, and I don't even know if I have the confidence to go do it, and I don't have a lot of I'll say I don't know if I don't have the experience with it. I think I have the confidence, and I think I know how to do it because I have a lot of like social interactions, and I've always had a lot of friends, and I've like grown up with a lot of brothers and sisters, but I've never actually done it. I've never done it my entire life, and I've never had to do it.
34-year-old alpha male, let me explain based on my memories from the 90s, because I've been married for a while and out of the marketplace too. I think what you do, you get a magazine, you cut all the letters out of it, and you use them, you paste them on a piece of paper, a really short note, like, you are pretty, and then you type that
circle yes or no,
throw it right through the window. That is a basic guide for how to impress a woman from 90s techniques, okay? I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure.
I still favor the like pretend that you're gay and then secretly turn straight at the last minute or whatever and try to get in her pants that way.
It's more of a 2000s technique. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't there an Adam Sandler movie with that?
This sounds really familiar, but I can't think of the title. I do think this concept has to have been in the movie. I'm thinking of the movie like Tootsie with like Dustin Hoffman or whatever, where like he ends up like pretending to be a woman. And he gets close to like a woman that he was trying to fuck. Similar.
Mrs. Doubtfire also does that, but there's the movie with Jessica Biel and Adam Sandler where he pretends to be gay at the beginning to get in her pants.
51st Dates?
Yep.
No,
it's with Drew Barrymore. But the whatever Tom's describing, that is the movie that I'm thinking of also. And like I said, there's a scene where she's literally like, "Here, touch my tits" or whatever, because she thinks he's gay.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Yes, I love Jessica Biel's tits.
I have an example of of an interaction that I had shooting my shot. You guys can judge me, and you guys can tell me if I'm.
I will.
Okay. Let me know, Straighterade, if I'm now.
You hit on Straighterade.
Self-reporting.
We'll watch.
No.
Yeah.
No, but I'm gonna. I was working in a nursing home, and I was in
What?
the kitchen. I would bring the food up bring the whole fucking metal cart, and I would bring it to the nurses after meals, and I would take back all the food and I'd bring it back. And there was one nurse that I saw that was very pretty, and we would exchange glances. And she like I could tell like we would like talk, but it was like she would like come and like try to talk to me. But she was when I'm giving the food out, it's very busy because they have to fucking force feed all the fucking old people. You know, like they're like this is a nursing home. So
Oh my
like
Smeth,
phase,
I really don't like where this story is
Okay. Yeah.
so I'm quitting. In my last day of work, I'm like, I'm never gonna see her again. So why don't I just go shoot my shot? And so I go up and I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna be here anymore. Can I give you my number? And she was very flattered. She said, no, thank you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
I think you would have had a better chance of getting her number had you guys actually talked while in the time that you were both
Yeah.
employed there. I think the only reason why is again, it's very unrealistic. Like I feel like people need to move away from this idea that you can go from like never having spoken to a person to like I can get their number by the end of this conversation. You should be comfortable, like how did you take that rejection?
That is like
Well,
bar
it was
mentality.
More to the point.
It was a low chance. It was a low chance of success, but I was like, you know what? I don't want to leave without shooting my shot, and I don't think I made her uncomfortable.
Right there. Can I tell you what you did right? In my opinion, what you did right was waiting until you left to pop the question and doing it in such a forward manner with no like prior interaction was always going to be a coin flip. But like as far as the pressure that you put on that person who was then going to have to return to that workplace day in and day out, there is no pressure. That is kind of the general rule that I think that you should, and everyone should adopt is like if a person has to be there, you should exercise extreme caution, no pun intended. Like you should utilize extreme levels of caution in how you make someone feel in a place where they're going to have to return to like day in and day out. The gym is a place people pay to go and largely is dictated by geography. A person who feels uncomfortable at the gym, it is a really, really shitty thing for them to have to like cancel or move gyms because they feel like they've been put in an uncomfortable position.
Hold on.
You are likely going to like overlap with them a lot of the time if you work out on kind of similar schedules. And that's why I
agree with that. I agree with all that. And I've followed that rule for my whole life. But most people end up dating in the workplace, and most people end up dating in these type of environments where that rule is going to actually be the thing that's broken in order to get that to happen.
But the thing that happens when you go to the workplace with the intent to find someone to date is you become known as the guy who's like.
That's not what I'm saying.
That's not. Yeah, you can't change it.
I know. I'm trying to clarify.
I'm just saying. Someone shoots their shot, and if they fail, now it's like your work with someone who shot their shot, and it could be awkward.
Yeah, like, it's important to give somebody an
shot with someone that you work with on an ongoing basis. You should be really cautious about like following like social signals that would lead you to believe that that's more appropriate than just like, oh, we exchanged some glances.
But that has led me to never like most people meet their partners, I believe, in the workplace, and that has led me to never ask anyone out in the workplace ever.
Wait, can I say here's how you?
No, you have asked someone out in the workplace. You just told a story about how you asked someone out.
It was the last day. It doesn't count. We're not. It's not the situation we're talking. It was the last day.
You didn't know. It absolutely still counts. You don't know if people like met someone in the workplace and then they continue. Like I met my last girlfriend in the workplace, but we saw each other like 2 hours every week or two. It was like on a really, really limited basis, and it just like progressed from there in those like individual interactions to the point that we started like having social interactions outside of work. But there's not anything to say that like everybody that meets someone at work is like going up to people at work and asking them on dates. It could totally be people who had interactions like the one you just referred to.
We were going to recenter to something. Sure.
Okay. Well, wait,
I don't
really
have
quick,
anything.
Just building off the workplace thing. Is that
of course again you're gonna make it continue. Go ahead.
What am I gonna make it like, Tom? Tell me.
I said you're gonna make it continue, but go ahead.
Really quick, it's just like there is a way to date somebody in the workplace, but it's almost like a misnomer, because I don't think in almost any social circumstance there's going to be an opportunity for you, again, to have a short conversation with someone where you pop the question by the end of that conversation. So when you say, how do I go up to somebody at the workplace, I would say you don't. If there's somebody who you're attracted to at your workplace, I would say first you need to try having regular conversations with them, try to become their friend first, and be completely fine with the possibility that like, hi, or like, hey, they might not reciprocate my physical attraction. So if we're just friends, if we're just coworkers, that's fine with me. I'd like to escalate it to a date. Hopefully, if we become close and I see that we're compatible, I can eventually ask them out. But you have to be more than okay with the idea that like this person may not be romantically interested in me. And the problem is that if you're just attracted to somebody and you just, I have to ask them out, I have to date them, that doesn't leave very much room for you to be okay with the rejection, because you don't even have the pillow of a friendship to fall back on.
Just because you want to, no, just because, okay, sure, yes, you should build up to it. You should establish some kind of rapport, yes. But even in that makes it more risky. The fact that you're establishing the rapport now will taint the whole friendship. Now it makes the whole thing weird. That actually it increases risks rather than mitigate it.
That depends on the type of bond that you're building with them.
So exactly. So with what Portland said, it's like they ended up going outside of the workplace and doing stuff together, and that can happen, but you still have to ask somebody to go start doing something with you. Like you're still like there's still some breach of the coworker relationship that is made.
Well, I'm saying you need to establish a relationship beyond just a coworker. You need to
be done after a lot of rapport building.
Yeah, and if you build enough rapport that you would first identify this person like they're my friend first, not just my coworker, I would say you've moved past the realm of just being a coworker. And again, and now it's almost out. It's weird to even think of it as happening inside the workplace, because it sounds like you guys are friends now. You hang out outside of work. You see each other outside of work. And when you do ask them the question, it's not in the workplace. It would literally be, well, because we've been friends for the last 6 months, I feel like we have a mutual romantic attraction. I'm going to try to escalate it to a romantic engagement. And you might even ask them this question out like on it, like when you're just hanging out or when you're seeing them outside of work already.
Yeah, when there's a professional aspect to it, I think you do a lot of like feeling out of the chemistry before you shoot your shot, both for self-preservation and for the sake of like being professional and not making the other person feel uncomfortable. There were a lot of different women that came through the store that I was managing that were attractive, that were really charismatic and friendly, and wanted to use their attractiveness as like, leverage to sell to single young men. I think that that's a pretty common thing in most industries. It's why we have like really attractive bartenders. It's why we have really attractive sales reps and things like the pharmaceutical industry. We like people respond really, really favorably to a pretty face, especially men. And knowing that, like, there's a lot of times where you're going to see like a smile and a little bit of a flirty disposition and maybe think like, oh, I should shoot my shot here. And I will tell you, like, I've done a lot of like considering and thinking like, no, this is probably not a clear enough sign of interest. And only in a couple of instances have I like shot my shot because I felt like there was enough rapport and enough safety there that they weren't going to go tell my boss, hey, I'm never coming back to this store because this guy is like making me uncomfortable.
It's true, and it can be very difficult. I'm never going to say that it's not. It can be very difficult to make the distinction between, is this kindness or is this affection, or are they being kind to me because they want me to ask them out because maybe they're too shy to.
And clothes and rare.
But I don't know that anybody ever disagreed with that. Yeah. My only thing, Smeth, is like even like again, just like earlier, what like just your strategy that started this whole diatribe about the gym thing was that
strategy.
I don't know. Yeah, strategy. I feel like that was what started the gym thing, no?
I mean,
you were out because maybe
it failed. It failed. I didn't do the thing that you're saying is bad. I didn't do that.
I know. I'm just saying, like, as
socially encouraged and not discouraged to like go up to a woman at the gym, offer to help them as a way to start a conversation with them. Like that was kind of the way that you framed the initial point. That was what I pushed back on, launched us into the 45-minute conversation that Tom has tried to get off of like 3 times now.
Well, hold on.
No, don't.
I just want to make my like.
Oh my
claim.
goodness!
What we've just been talking about. What's up? I don't understand.
It's nothing.
I'm just.
Whatever, because my normative, I don't feel like we ever really clarified like what people ought to do. We just said what they shouldn't do. But if I'm talking about what we ought to do, it's just really bizarre because I feel like, Smeth, the advice that you were giving is like incel factory advice. I'm serious.
But no, I'm saying become more social.
Be more social is good, but at first you were saying like, men are having to find ways to be more and more deceptive, and that deception, like teaching men to be more deceptive to get to women, like women are going, the more adaptively mistrustful women are going to have to become, because that goes both ways, right?
No,
like if men feel like
be
they
more
have
social.
to become...
I did not say to be more deceptive. I said go to the gym. I didn't say deceive women. I said go meet more women.
Going up
I
to,
know, but you said go to the gym.
I didn't say go up to women. No, I
women.
didn't say go up to women. I said go to a place where women exist. The chances go
Right.
way up. I didn't say deceive them. I didn't say go be creepy to them or stalk them. I just said be in a fucking building doing a thing that women are doing. You know?
Right, but what from there that followed into the discussion about like using like finding an excuse, quote unquote, to talk to certain women, and one of those excuses was like, oh, do you need some help or whatever? Is that not somewhat deceptive if you're just finding an excuse to talk to somebody so you can have an in with them so you could date them?
No, that's not
How
deceptive.
How is it not somewhat deceptive?
Do you wanna spot me? Or like that's not deceptive. It's like, oh, do you want to be gym friends now? Like that's an attempt to make gym friends.
Okay, Smeth, how about this? What if I'm like what if I'm there doing like leg day, but the girl that I've like noticed I've shared a couple of glances with, she's over there like by the dumbbells, she's doing curls. So I'm just like, fuck it, I'm gonna scuttle leg day, and I'm just gonna go over there and I'm gonna stand like 3 or 4 feet away from her. I'm gonna do my curls and I'm gonna kind of just like do whatever I can to spark up a conversation. Do you see how that would be like, do you think that would be manipulative behavior? Or just like a generally undesirable behavior?
Yeah, deceptive. I just think it's deceptive.
I don't know if deceptive. It's stalking.
No, it's not stalking to ask somebody a leading question. I'm just saying it's a behavior that should be socially discouraged.
To like walk up next to someone without just shoot your shot. Do you want to spot me? And then she says no. You walk away.
And but why are you asking that question? Are you asking that because you need to be
because
spotted?
You want to
be
gym friends.
I want to build rapport.
Yes, build rapport. Don't like stand next to someone and like look at them and like try to be around them and then be like, hey, we're next to each other all the time. Wonder why that is. That's weird. No, that's fucking stupid. Like just try to build rapport. Okay, I can understand this. Okay, we can bring this to another part of the conversation. Okay.
Sure.
So men do all of these things. Men have to navigate all these things, and that I think is their part of the transaction. So what are women doing?
Wait, what did you say is part of men's transaction, or like they're part of the transaction?
So men are having to navigate the whole conversation we just had. That's men are having to go to understand, I'll navigate all this shit, shoot their shot, fucking have status, fucking, like impress women and like, be the fucking guy with the fucking rodeo clown nose or whatever. And what is the thing that women are doing? Are they're like wear makeup?
So used to be it was that women were going to have your kids, they were going to stay home, take care of them, like there was an actual like transaction there. I can say the only thing today that like, yeah, I would bring my girlfriend to like work meetings or dinners and stuff like that because I felt like her being classy and hot and all of these other things was helpful for me in my career. And that's like that, but that's about it. That's like as good as it gets. Is yeah, she can help you in those ways, but not really much else. Yeah.
I gave more than that. She at least like women like will have to, because of the expectations men have on women. Women will have to like put all this work into their appearance, like shave their fucking body hair all the time, and so all these fucking beauty products.
Right, but it sounded like you were saying that you want something objective or concrete that you're actually getting out of that transaction, whereas they're getting a whole lot of like objective.
True,
concrete
that is what I want.
You asked what they were doing. I want to explain what they're doing, like more than just like throwing makeup on within the direct context of what we were just talking about. I have met like very, very small percentage of women in my time as a personal trainer wanted to go to the gym like as a recreational activity. They did it because they felt they had to, because they had to achieve a certain level of like physical fitness and attractiveness to like be socially acceptable. There is a huge level of societal pressure on women to look a certain way well beyond what they might.
But he's asking, he's including that. He's saying besides being attractive, what value are they bringing to the man?
I think no. He said putting on makeup. I'm trying to point out that like there's a lot more of an investment and a consistent, ongoing investment in women.
I understand. I'm saying I think he's including all of that in his point, and he's just saying what else, what other value do they bring?
Okay, having to maximize for attractiveness in that way promotes and communicates a lot of other attractive characteristics too, like reliability, consistency, the like ability to set goals and hit them, and like stay consistent in healthy behaviors that would likely be conducive to things like having a really successful relationship.
Okay, hold on. Let me lay this out for you. Okay, so one, he has status. Okay, so lots of times this either means like popularity, large groups of friends, lots of money, nice things, nice cars, stuff like that. Okay, so he's talking about like something concrete and objective that actually improves the other person's life, not outside of the relationship. So yes, the relationship matters, the chemistry matters, like having somebody to compete with, having somebody that betters you, that's all cool. But he's talking about like things that you actually get out of the relationship, whereas men value one thing, women value another. And women now today, before, women were going to make you very pretty kids, and they were going to take care of the kids, and they were going to cook, and they were going to clean, and all of these other things. And if that's not the case anymore, there's not this like objective value that one is getting out of the relationship. And I think most men are okay with that part. But
I don't think
I disagree.
Go ahead. I'd rather hear from you than hear from myself.
No, it's not that. It's like, to answer Smeth's question, this whole like, what are you gonna do for me? What benefits am I conferring? I just don't even think that's a healthy attitude to. I know, but I don't even think it's to me not even the right question to ask. Again, like can I ask you, like, do you have any interest in speaking to a woman besides what they have to offer you?
Yeah.
Like, what's an example of this?
I don't know, just women I like.
Well, that's why I'm saying I think most men are actually happy with this arrangement. Like, though women might get more out of it, I think men are like normally happy with that arrangement.
But you say women get more out of it, like status. You use the word status and you called it objective. Status is anything but objective.
I didn't say status is objective. I mentioned things that status brings. I didn't. I said I mentioned
does not necessarily, in the way that you're referring to it. Status is as simple as like a person who has like a good title to their job, but doesn't really have any meaningful amount of like influence in the world. Like you could be like, in my instance. In my case, again, not to like harp back to anecdotal evidence, but like when I was a store manager, like in any position where you have like a vested amount of authority of any kind and project a level of confidence around that, that would be enough to confer status to a lot of people. But that status doesn't really mean fuck all, besides me having like a $40,000 a year income instead of the $35,000 a year income my employees had, and having more confidence than them because I like was in the role because I was a confident person. I didn't get the status. The status was something that I conferred. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I think that normally that's going to mean that like within that structure, you are making more money than everybody else there. You are more confident than everybody else there. You're going to have like the ability to be a leader. There's and these bring on a lot of other things and signal a lot of other things as well. That means that you're more likely. So women aren't only looking for status, they're also looking for like potential of status, which is why confidence and all of these other things matter as well, because you're more likely to gain that status later on in life as well.
Wait, I just kind of explained how women project the same thing through, like, by and large, through physical attractiveness and physical fitness, because that's like the arena that we're most used to viewing them in. But like they have the same capacity to project the same kinds of traits. But we don't value women who have like a strong leadership based personality the same way that we value attractive women, like as men.
I think we don't really, I don't think we value, we value a little bit physical fitness in women, but like we only value physical fitness in their ass and like nothing else. Like women with some shoulder muscle.
How
hold on. So a woman staying like skinny, in shape, like having like tone, like those things matter across the board. Like having a flat stomach, like all of these things.
What I'm saying, like flat stomach isn't necessarily the most healthy. That's what I'm saying. Like I think a lot of like women just try to stay really skinny and stuff, and they're actually like kind of hurting themselves. And like it's not really they're not actually like like being like not eating is not like I guess that shows like I guess that I dated.
You said, hold on,
an
wait,
anorexic girl.
hold on. You're going off. You said fitness. We're talking about fitness, okay? So when we're talking about fitness, it's not just having a big butt. It's also having a flat stomach. It's also staying fit and tone and all of these other things.
Yeah, but what I was saying was true fitness
areas of life. People need
what I was saying was true fitness isn't the thing that we're actually looking for in women often, as much as we are like a lot of like the ways that women can look that we find attractive aren't like just being like really skinny and like not working out and stuff like that we see that as attractive, and it's really not fit, and it's
but
just
they use fitness to gain those things often.
I guess I think you lose weight in the kitchen, not in the gym.
Hold on.
That's true, but like people's but like what you're saying is that even though it's incorrect, you can be really, really skinny or underweight or whatever, and you're saying you're not technically physically fit, but in the eye of the beholder, that doesn't literally matter, because if you have it in your head that like, oh, skinny equals fit, then in your mind you're like, I am valuing fitness here, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that Portland was saying was that it would like her body is proof of her like dedication or whatever, but really maybe she's just starving herself and she's got mental illness.
No, that's just silly. If you think that you can't distinguish between someone who is starving themselves and someone who is physically fit, both in terms of like general
I'm saying men are attracted to women that starve
in
themselves.
terms of their physical capacity, you're just being silly. A lot of people like to be able to engage in physical activities with their partners, like going on walks, going on hikes, doing things that require similar levels of like physical fitness, and they also want their partners to have similarly healthy lifestyles, so their children will have similarly healthy socialization. So to say that like a woman could be valued equally on the attractiveness level by just starving herself versus the like having a dedicated fitness routine, I think you're just ignoring the fact that a dedicated fitness routine confers all, like it communicates all these other areas of proficiency, just like a man's status.
It does, but what does that actually bring? It doesn't actually bring anything. It doesn't actually like give the man. It absolutely
does. In the same way that status broadly attributes anything to a relationship, regardless of whether there's like a material substance behind it. You just pointed to and like specifically laid out the fact that status is like an amalgam, a broad umbrella term for all these different attributes that men would find or that women would find attractive in men. And I'm telling you that like we appropriate a lot of those ideas into fitness as the way that we like measure women's like dedication to themselves, their work ethic. We associate their ability to maintain a good, healthy state of physical fitness with all these other desirable attributes. So they are contributing.
This is a niche way to judge women that like most men don't have, because most women
matter either way. It doesn't actually bring anything.
It's a huge proxy. I think all Portland is saying is that it's a very easy proxy.
Yes, they're right that it's a proxy, but when we're talking about what does this normally bring, what is this like a signifier of that it will bring to the man, that will give him some sort of like that actually something valuable that it gives him that betters him outside of the relationship. I don't think you did. You're just talking about things. Yes, exactly. Yes.
No bullshit. Listen, a woman that is consistent in her ability to take care of herself is likely going to be consistent in her ability to take care of at least her share of a home and of a family and of all of these things that are still going to be a responsibility that at the very least is mutual, if not like still slightly leaning in the woman's direction, because they're the one that's going to have to physically bear the children and take care of them in early infancy. Like these are things that are directly related to your physical fitness and that add tangible value to the relationship, obviously.
Hold on, you're saying the same thing as me. Again, it's the last thing that you said. That's what we're asking you to talk about. When you're saying
you're saying there's no value in it. I'm saying that's silly.
No, hold on, stop. You are not talking about value. You're talking about things that can signify value. And then we're saying, and then the value at the end. And then when you get to the value at the end, you're like, yeah, she can have kids and take care of the house and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but that doesn't happen as much anymore. That's not what we're talking about as much anymore. Now, it is the man more so bringing that value that actually changes her life in a lot more ways than the way that her then her value is going to change his life.
The woman, if women, we all accept that women have a much more independent state of like income, of viability, education, and like general ability to provide for themselves than they did 30, 40 years ago, right? So why would men be giving more to the transaction now when women, like those things that you just pointed to, matter much less to women now than they did 30 years ago because they can provide for themselves.
No, right. So the thing that your tone of voice, listen to me,
because I can't even tell if you guys can hear me when you yell, wait, halfway through. Okay, so I will try not to do it to you. You try not to do it to me. Okay?
Yes. Okay.
Cool. Go ahead.
So that's why I wanted you to wait, because
wait, can I bridge what I think is the gap here?
Please.
Yeah, I think that what you're saying is that some people have it, if you view fitness as a proxy for all of those other characteristics, then you must have a warped perception of your understanding of fitness, because it doesn't necessarily follow that if you are in shape or whatever, that you have all of those other traits that people typically associate it with. In the same way that you can have a lot of money, and most people will typically be right that like, oh, money is a proxy for XYZ characteristic, but if you're just like a trust fund baby and you had money, then that was just granted to you or whatever. And that's an example of how it wasn't indicative of somebody's character or something that they earned, and it's not really that impression because it was just granted to you, right?
So again,
I feel like Portland, what you're saying is that it's not possible to be physically fit without having all of those other characteristics, because somebody who is physically fit is somebody who is necessarily a dedicated person, somebody who is able to set a goal and reach it, right? Or no?
I'm saying they're highly correlated, not that you're only going to find people with just like when you talk about monetary success, you could find someone who's just got like a really good job right now, but they're also a cokehead and they have no ability to save money. Like the appearance of having a really good, like the optics of having a really good job might confer some perception of financial competence, but the reality is that one does not necessarily equal the other. They're just likely to be correlated, just like someone who's
we're talking about. We're talking about we're talking about what value are they likely to bring, and you're saying, well, the fitness means that they're likely to bring X, Y, and Z that nobody freaking values. Nobody cares about those things.
Correlated, which means they are highly likely to possess those qualities if they have a very healthy regimen of physical fitness. That is just a like simple fact. Yes, they're highly correlated.
What I want to say is that I guess, but men aren't valuing in women their what they can bring to their life and improve their life. They just care about their fucking body.
Maybe wait.
No, shut up. I'm critiquing men. I'm saying that men need to start valuing women for more than just their fucking ass.
I think that they already do it to a large extent. I think they can in some ways be more superficial, but again, like we were talking about earlier, those just being physically attractive is not enough to overwhelm a lot of other negative qualities that a woman could have with her personality or life circumstances. Like no matter how hot some women are, it doesn't matter if you're from a low socioeconomic background, if you have a bunch of kids, if you're addicted to drugs, that's just making the likelihood that somebody's going to be with you just drop down exponentially.
Sure.
That's my only point. Because I just don't believe that men are as superficial as you're saying. I think they are superficial, and I think women are superficial, but not to the extent that you seem to believe.
We're talking in extremes. It's probably more in the middle, but
I would say generally men are like, the hotter the woman is, the more other things they're willing to overlook. I would say like the more status the guy has, the more problems the woman's willing to overlook. And I think that but the other things still matter. It's not as though we're saying the other things don't matter at all, and now they can just have like the crappiest personality and be a drug addict and a crackhead.
Well, can I ask you guys then? Cares. Are you guys like this or no?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, no, I definitely feel like I didn't get married until I was 30 because I feel like there's a lot of I've had a lot of failed compatibility tests, and I've never really felt like there's a need. Like there are a lot of things that contribute to a really healthy relationship, and I don't think that you can learn all of that by just like, I'm not saying that you guys think that it's all strictly physical. You're going to be attracted to the person that you like initiate a romantic pursuit of or like a romantic connection with, obviously. But it's not the only thing that matters, and it certainly isn't enough to get me to overlook a lot of negative traits that detract from my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
think that
like Tom, would you overlook like you wouldn't have like you think that most men don't have just like any deal breakers for women who are like 8 of 10s, 9 of 10, 10 of 10s?
No, I don't think that it's that they don't have any deal breakers. Again, I keep saying, like, it's not as though the other things don't matter at all. It's that they matter less. So, like, I've talked to you actually specifically about, like, I've had a number of girlfriends with BPD or other issues like that. Those issues I become more willing to deal with those. The hotter she is, the more I like her, the femininity, the like, you know, how empathetic she is, like things like those still matter to me greatly, but they don't bring like what Smeth's talking about, where we're talking about like cars, houses, you know, nicer dinners, like stuff like that. Like they don't bring this concrete value into your life. They bring a I don't want to say an emotional value, but kind of like, yeah, like something I value personally within that relationship as far as our chemistry goes and as far as me wanting to be with her. But I don't get a whole lot out of that. That makes like my exterior world better, but it does make my internal world better.
that is just
Well,
fascinating to me. That's
I have
very
another.
fascinating to me because I can think of so many ways that my wife like materially improves my life by
Sure.
bringing these attributes that I was talking about before, the consistency and the dedication and the ambitiousness and stuff into our relationship has made my life materially better in a fucking ton of different ways. I don't have to work as hard because she works really fucking hard because she has like taken it upon herself to start a business even though I was completely comfortable financially providing for us. I now don't have to worry about the fact that our business, the marijuana business, has hit pretty hard times economically because she is picking up the slack. I don't have to worry about where like who's taking care of my kids when I go to work, and she doesn't have to worry about the same. Like there's a lot of mutual exchange of service here, and I don't feel like I'm bringing something to the table that she's not.
Tom, okay, this is what I wanted to say before, what I forgot. Tom is not giving criticism of women at all right now. He's criticizing men. He's criticizing himself.
But I feel
Yeah,
like you
there's
kind
no,
of are
there's not,
criticizing
I'm
women
not
when
even
you're
making.
saying I can't even point to like concrete things that women bring to the table in relationships. You guys are like struggling to find them.
No.
Portland
That's
and
not
I
what
feel
he.
like
That's not what he's saying. He's not saying that they don't. He's saying that men are valuing like flippant,
The wrong
non-concrete things.
Yeah.
Yes, men are valuing the wrong things. That's what he's saying. This is a feminist point. You guys are acting like we're trying to like say something is wrong with women, but we're saying that the men need to value women in better ways.
Yeah, like all of my relationships have turned out poorly. Almost all of them have ended up cheating on me or doing something freaking crazy. Like I am a poor judge of women, but I do like I know all of my friends and everybody I was on like the football team with and basketball teams with and like everybody I work with, they're all similar in the way that they judge women and the types of women that they date. And it's normally like, yes, the hotter she is and the like better her body is and the bigger her butt is, like the more other things you're willing to overlook.
I've had that issue, but I've been getting a lot better at that, and for me, like I'm not looking for I'm not looking for those things that improve my life like materially. I'm looking for someone who just uniquely is compatible with me like emotionally and intellectually, and like, you know, can put up with all my fucking bullshit, and I can put up with their bullshit.
That's something that I've always valued pretty highly, is that they're able to have like a conversation or a debate with me. They're able to engage with me intellectually. They're able to understand like the concepts and the stuff that I engage with and that I talk about and that I work in. Like those things have always been insanely important to me as
Mutual
well.
sense of humor is a lot more important to me than like if it's like a, you know, slight, if she has like slightly bigger tits or something. Like there's baselines for everything. Obviously we always like, just like the status thing, you're talking about status as though it's like this flat line where people either have it or they don't. Status can be, like I said, somebody with like a lot of swagger and a $40,000 a year income, or it can be somebody who's like the CEO of a company and has their entire life figured out, like in terms of the finances already. And there's, both of them are going to have status. So it's an incredibly vague term that can confer a ton of value or almost none.
I don't think I'm doing that. I'm the one who brought up like the guy at the rodeo who's like not making a lot of money, but he's like the cool guy in town. Like I don't think of it as this like, you know, you have to be the CEO or a lawyer to have status. I think there's a million ways to like have status, but it's still
Yeah, but what is the guy at the what is the rodeo winner whose status is entirely centered on that like attribute? What is he bringing to the table of substance, like via this status label? Because you pointed to a lot of material things like cars
I
and
already answered
houses
this.
and financial security, but rodeo guy, he's got status and he doesn't have fuck all outside of it to bring to the table.
Yeah, what does he
No,
have?
I mentioned this earlier. I think that he has popularity. He has friends. He has like he has
Wait,
social
that's
standing.
tangible, but women's value in the ways that I described it isn't? How is
No,
that?
it is. That's literally what I said. I said that like if I have a hot girlfriend, I'm bringing her to the business dinners. I'm bringing her around to like business meetings. Like yes, she has like that social status that helps as well.
Rodeo guy is the trophy husband.
No, it's not the trophy husband.
No.
I think if you're trying
No?
to understand why some women can be attracted to like somebody who has like a high status job and a lot of money, but is also attracted to like a stoner, like rock star dude who's still living on his parents' couch, but he's physically attractive. It's because I don't think that I don't have the data or survey in front of me, but when they polled women, women don't seem to differentiate too much between a man's status and his potential to have status in the future.
That's
Like
what I
women
said
will
earlier.
invest in them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like confidence and other markers are going to be likelihood of future status. Yeah.
Okay, Tom, I don't want to feel like I'm like straw manning you because it just felt like you said, and so I want you to like just correct me if I'm wrong here. It felt like you said status is this tangibly valuable thing that men bring to the table for their relationships with women. Women bring these like this physical beauty and the attributes associated with that, which are intangible, like non-substantive, but socially valuable things. And so is that basically what your position is? Like, have I
Kind of. My issue with all of your responses is that we are speaking in generalities. We're speaking like on average, and normally status is going to be represented mostly by money more than anything else. Money, cars, houses, stuff like that. Most of the time, that is
and a
going to be
high
status.
level of physical fitness is going to most of the time correlate with all of those other desirable attributes that I brought up. Not always, but the majority of the time.
Why is it that women like will like look at like I was watching a woman swiping on Tinder the other day, and like when it was a guy like in the gym like with like muscles, she's like, oh, it looks like a douchebag. Why is that a man that has fitness, you don't assume that he's got personal strength and he's going to really bring a lot to the table?
You
don't really have that same.
You do, but if you see the guy that like has a dozen gym selfies and his hair is gelled every time he goes there and stuff, he looks like a little bit of a superficial douche, not somebody who's there for the like dedication to fitness and health and like socially healthy behaviors, but someone who has like maybe a vanity problem. And that's not like universally true, but it's true
so where women are so they care so much, they are forced to care so much about their fitness because of men's expectations on them. They're forced to care about their appearance. They're forced to have this vanity problem socially.
Wait, Smeth, are you
genuinely
genuinely asking
far
why?
with it too, right? When women have like
egregious
lip fillers and cheek fillers and really fucking like extremely synthetic looking procedures done to them and stuff, like we scrutinize them the same way that we do like gym douches who look like they've gone a little too far on their vanity. We do the same thing with like people who run too far in either direction.
Sure.
Yeah, I thought we said way earlier in the conversation that men who are in the gym like for hours and hours trying to like build up this again like a rippling six pack, huge physique. Really, what they don't realize is that they're pandering more to like male gaze type standards, and that like I wouldn't be surprised if a woman would see a dude, a like ripped huge dude in the gym and be like, this dude looks like a douche, like a roided up douchebag, because again, those types of things mostly appeal to other men, and women don't like most women, yes, want somebody who's physically fit, but there comes a point where again, like just the appearance of having like the gym jock look like they're already going to be like stereotyping them as like, this looks like a jock, this looks like a dude who's fucking, yeah, like pointed out, it's not attractive to most women.
Not even just that, but women have like a much bigger variety of body types that they're attracted to, and the way that they see you and how attracted to you they are changes based on like your personality, your confidence, how funny you are. Like those things can change pretty drastically
Yeah,
the more you interact with them.
And the way you frame yourself. So like the exact same person looking the exact same way will be perceived completely differently if they're like taking a gym selfie, flexing in the mirror in the middle of the workout floor, versus if they're like posting a video of them like maxing out their bench press and a person spotting them or something like that. And it's just like celebrating the achievement. Like there's a hugely different reaction when someone is like just engaging in an activity versus like trying to showcase themselves in a way that's going to invite scrutiny and notions of vanity.
Well, yeah, we have like the traditionally good-looking guy like Fabio or Hassan or something like that, but so many women are attracted to like bald dudes and dad bods and like all sorts of different things. There is such a like huge variety of things that women are attracted to, whereas like men, we can pretty easily pin down like a stereotypical woman that most men are going to find attractive.
Sure. I think that there's something to be said though about the fact that like the same characteristics seem to be like broadly appealing coming from men, even if it's not like manifesting in physical fitness. A guy with a dad bod and stuff is usually like the people who find him appealing are the ones who find like, you know, authority and like leadership and that you know, taking care of a family before taking care of yourself. Like they correspond to the same kind of behaviors, but like viewed through a different lens by a different group of people. So it still the same kind of key attributes though.
Yep.
And women just have a lot narrower lens in which to like project their appeal, unfortunately, and a lot less societal pressure to like a woman who's out of shape and has like a mom bod is considered like a self-deprecating way of for women to refer to themselves. Like women refer to themselves as having a mom bod, and it's like a form of self kind of fucking deprecation, like make self mockery. And men have a dad bod, it's like viewed as a sexy subcategory of all the different potential sexy men's bodies out there. So it's just like we force women through a really, really narrow lens of what's acceptable. We give them a really narrow lens, set of options to project that value. We don't look at a woman who's chubby and stuff and go like, oh man, I bet she's like really dedicated to fucking her mental capacity though. I bet she's really smart. Probably reads 10 books a month. Like we don't fucking do that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so I wish we like said this to young men more often, because I like early on I've had girlfriends who have told me they didn't find me attractive at all at first. Like like lots of people talk about this stat that says that women within the first 2 seconds know whether or not they're going to want to sleep with you. But I've literally had girlfriends who said like, I didn't find you attractive until you started talking. I've had women in my audience who tell me I didn't find you attractive until I heard you start talking. Like you seem like a douchebag until you actually like start talking, and then all of a sudden you seem attractive. And also, so yes, you can change how attractive you are. And lots of these incel guys and these red pill guys, they all like think of this, you know, Fabio type guy with the big muscles and the, you know, he's got to be 6'3" and all this other crap. But yeah, you can change how attractive you are based on your personality. And then on top of that, you have such a wide range. You don't have to look like Fabio or Hassan. Like you can be like a dad bod or a bald dude. You can be a skinny, wiry guy who plays in a band. Like there's just such a wide variety of
the thing about that.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Good.
The thing about that is it's just so unclear to men though, like what those are. Where like women have like a clear like idea of like what I gotta look like to get the guys and stuff. With guys, it's because women don't really communicate that outward. Like they're not gonna tell you how to get them. You know, like I don't think they're as confused like as like you know like people don't know people say women don't know what they want. I think a lot of women are either they do know what they want and they're not going to say it, or they're repressing it because to be forthcoming about that would would diminish their locus of power they're giving in their gender role as being the selective the better of men.
I think Tom was just illustrating that some women don't know what they want until they have it right in front of them. Like if he was saying that he was perceived as unattractive to like a what ended up being a future girlfriend, doesn't that go to show that she was like, oh, I didn't view you as somebody who I would have typically gone for, but then I got to know you and my perception of your attractiveness changed greatly based off that.
Yeah, this like directly speaks to what we were talking about earlier, where like the barrier to entry for men can be overcome really easily with just like a tiny shred of charisma and a little bit of personality, because most women will tell you like they have certain requirements, physical or professional or both, and the vast majority of those requirements go right out the fucking window as soon as they meet someone they like, someone that has enough personality to get their attention. I'm fucking 5'7". I've been told by women that I dated that were taller than me that I don't seem short. What the fuck does that mean other than like you're really confident and you just like present yourself in a really like big way, just like as a big personality? It's a fucking weird thing to hear, but trust me, like I think that there's a lot of the barriers are mental, and you're asking women like be more outward and more forthcoming with what you want, but then you're saying no, you're telling me the wrong things. Tell me how to like bypass all of these surface level criteria and like be charming anyways, because most of the time that's still possible even if you're not like 6 foot and make 150 grand. A tiny bit of personality and just like the right opportunity goes a really long way.
Well, there's also like when we talk about men not knowing what it is that women want, it's not really, I don't think, as much that they don't know what they want. I think it's also that like women's sexuality is like stigmatized pretty heavily, and women sexualizing men, watching porn, like being overtly attracted to men, objectifying them. I have a feminist in my community who constantly says feminism is when men and women are both objectified at the same rate. Like that is a huge issue for women to actually constantly talk about what it is they like about men, and like, you know, catcall men and talk about men in a very sexual manner. And so I think it's harder for us to know what it is that they like, because them telling us what they like is pretty heavily stigmatized.
Yeah. That I think the reason I gave for that is I think they're given a double-edged sword with power, where if you withhold that, it gives you a certain leverage, but like withholding that also enslaves you to the gender role.
So it's like a lose-lose for them, but you seem to think that they have like the majority of the power and are the ones who need to change their behaviors to be more in line with like communicating with men in a healthier way. What you perceive
that wasn't
to be
a lose-lose. That was a win-lose. One is like withholding the power.
Is a lose-lose, okay? I don't know if you've ever tried to hold one. It's the whole point of the expression is that you can't, because both ends are bad.
Yeah, I think he's
no. I thought it was because that's not what double-edged sword means. Both double-edged, like, so this is the blade.
Explain to me how one edge of a double-edged sword is good.
Here's the handle. Here's the handle. This end of the blade is sharp, and this end of the blade is sharp.
Right.
So you can cut that way, and you can cut this way, and you can cut yourself, and you can also cut them. That's what it doesn't mean that the handle is bladed.
A double-edged sword is like the same as a catch-22, where like you have good on one side and bad on the other side.
No, a catch-22 means that like there's no way to cleanly win the situation. Like there's always a bad outcome attached to the good outcome. That's the same thing. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yes. Exactly.
I thought it just referred to a sword that had two sharpened edges. I could be wrong. I have no fucking clue. Well, but I like the whole fucking point of that.
A double-edged sword isn't something you want.
Yeah, it has pros and cons. That's it.
Yeah, if you look up Google double-edged sword, it says it means that it has negative effects as well as positive effects. So he was using it correctly, yes. But I have a ton of swords back here.
I may have invoked the visual representation of it incorrectly. Yes, a double-edged sword, just like a catch-22, is a no-win situation. It is a situation where you will fundamentally like damage yourself, like if you try to like achieve some kind of end.
Yeah, so he's saying that they will hold power in one hand by not letting people know what it is that they want, but also it's harder for people to then know what they want.
Yeah,
as well.
It's like wearing makeup. Wearing makeup. What?
I said, does everyone watching and does everyone's chat now know what a double-edged sword is? Now that we just explained it.
Oh yeah, they're
now fucking on the same page. I still don't quite understand what Smeth's version looks like.
Okay, so Wearing makeup
really
will
sharp
improve.
sword.
Wearing makeup will fucking improve your life if you're a woman, huh? Because like it'll make you get you're gonna do better in your job interview. It'll get you more sexual partners. It'll make you more appealing to people. But wearing makeup now, by virtue of you wearing makeup, you make all women look more ugly by putting on a fake face. And so that's a double-edged sword. Now all women have to wear makeup. The more makeup women wear, the more other women have to wear makeup. It's the same thing. So yeah, I think that like all women wearing makeup gives them a privilege, but it also enslaves them to the makeup. So I think it is they're still having like this elevated like beauty thing. We're treating them like they're so fucking beautiful, but it's all fake. And it sucks to have to put on makeup every day.
I don't think so. I mean, as somebody who wears makeup daily or whatever, I enjoy it. But like, yeah, obviously, like anything, you can what? Tom's shaking his head. What the fuck is this? What?
I'm sorry, it
possible
looks
that some
like it
women enjoy
sucks,
wearing
dude.
makeup?
The girls, yes, the girls that I dated having to get up earlier to shower, do their hair, put on makeup, paint their nails, like shave their legs, all of that crap. Hell no, dude. I get out of bed, I shower the night before, and then I get out of bed and I'm ready to go, dude. I
The
don't
pressure
want
is
to have
what
to do all
sucks.
that
I
crap.
think to women, the pressure is what's frustrating. Is that like that she
Mhm.
can't just go into work one day with that she feel like if she feels like wearing makeup, putting it on, that can be a fun activity to do. It can feel nice to look nice or whatever.
Mhm.
But the downside to that is if you have
The
a
When you
professional
don't wear makeup,
expectation
they
that
treat you like something fucking horrible must have happened to you.
yeah, I feel like that's the bigger
You
downside
show
of
up
it. I
without
don't really
makeup
hear
one
women
day.
talking about like, oh, I don't want to. Yeah, it's annoying for me to have to apply makeup. Like, I know plenty of women who have like professional working jobs. It's not that they wear none, but like they genuinely find it annoying, like you're saying, and they wear so minimal that it literally takes them just like 5 minutes.
Mhm.
I think just the pressure is what sucks. It's not the action of doing it or not doing it.
We were talking about this the other day where there was the Jordan Peterson comment about like, you know, women wear makeup to seduce men, and like obviously that's
I
why
know.
makeup was originally inducted into like social norms, was because it was
Right.
supposed to make women look more attractive, but eventually it became a social norm and an expectation to where if a woman shows up to work without makeup, it's like her showing up naked. Like it's like unprofessional to show up to work without makeup on.
I think what
feel
people are refusing to acknowledge, though, is that the dynamics of that expectation have changed a little bit and evolved to be more than just, like the sole purpose of makeup. Like, I don't doubt that again, like that was the reason that it was created. But now there's so many examples of women wearing different styles of makeup that definitely don't appeal to conventional standards
Yeah.
of beauty, and they must simply do it because they enjoy it. But
Yep.
Jordan Peterson in that quote or whatever, he's like, the only reason a woman could be wearing makeup is to attract someone. And I'm thinking like, well, look
I don't
at
think
women
that's
who
what he
wear
was
like
saying.
goth makeup.
I think he was saying that that's
Yeah,
going to be
even
the
men that
outcome
wear
one way
like
or the other,
eyeliner and
because he was talking about segregating workplaces, and so he was saying that one way or the other it's going to be attractive to men, it's going to be seductive to men, and so one way or the other you're bringing something very sexual to the workplace. Not that like it was necessarily that they're all trying to seduce men, but that's going to be the outcome
Well,
either way.
he was making that assumption, but I'm saying like again, there's plenty of different examples of like makeup styles that just aren't attractive to men, and women continue to do them anyway, like goth makeup.
that's
In
attractive
general.
to men. It's attractive to
I'm
men.
not talking about like e-girl makeup. I'm talking about like proper goth. Like she paints her face white and she shaves off her eyebrows and she wears like almost like Kiss style. Like Kiss is not goth, but you know what I mean. Something that's literally that exaggerated. That is like true goth makeup.
She's like breaking out, whatever. It's like you're not going to see any of that. You're going to see this like pristine, like doll looking like face. It'll cover all of your blemishes. I
think we would still consider that unprofessional though. So.
Sure.
Yeah, true.
I do you agree that it's a double-edged sword then? That wearing makeup will improve your life, but in large, all women wearing makeup makes all women's lives worse?
I mean, it sounds like a single woman wearing makeup on a regular basis puts a level of pressure on her to continue doing it or like be subject to the social scrutiny and just like the snide comments and stuff of, oh my God, are you okay? Like, hey, is everything all right? You look really tired today. That
like
kind of
Pokimane putting out a picture of her without makeup.
A woman that doesn't wear makeup will have negative effects in her life, and if a woman that wears makeup, the women around her in her life will look uglier because she wears makeup every day.
Wait, but you make it sound like they objectively look uglier. Is it that, or is it that the social bias now favors women that wear makeup, and it's actually men who are contributing to this reinforcement when they reward women for wearing makeup and punish them for not doing
No,
that?
I think women,
because women will reinforce that feeling amongst each other.
I think
too.
women that wear makeup are trying to look younger, and they're trying to remove all their blemishes. And there's like all humans are a little bit ugly, and you're trying to make yourself look perfect and young and beautiful and all that shit when you wear makeup.
Right, but this
Wait,
is
Smith,
like
hold on, that doesn't answer the question.
Equally from other women too. This is the classic, like, no man is ever going to give you shit for wearing the same dress twice in a week, but every other fucking woman in your social group will mention it. Like, this is the same kind of pressure that like women subject each other to in kind of a vicious cycle where like
women are just as sexist as men.
Sure, but if men weren't attracted to these things, they wouldn't wear them. Like, that's the whole point, is that if men weren't attracted to them, it would just fade out of social norms altogether.
What about men that wear makeup and are like heterosexual and wear like things like eyeliner and stuff to appeal to like that goth aesthetic? I mean, do you think that they strictly do it to be more physically attractive, and if there weren't like physical factors, they would just not do it?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
So why is it
examples of men,
different when men do it versus women?
Because one is a social norm and the other one's like heavily stigmatized.
I think in the goth sphere where they are, that is going to make them more successful at getting partners and stuff.
Right. It's going to
I have an example of this. Can I ask you guys, like, why, like, when you see men wearing nail polish, what are your thoughts on that? Anyone?
I mean, like, yeah, I know from this is why I find the like, oh, it's to appeal to women or like to appeal to sexual partners thing kind of like hard to just call a universal rule, because I remember really distinctly just a couple of guys that were super highly dressed up in like goth aesthetic with makeup and nail polish and all of that in my like middle school, and there wasn't really any like female population that was gravitating towards that. There weren't like any real goth girl groups at the time, and it feels like they were doing it again like at their own expense socially and getting scrutinized for it a lot and getting basically no benefit. It was purely
high schoolers are not tuned into like they're not high schoolers are the worst possible example for people who are tuned into what the other sexual partner other sexual companions are interested in. Teenage boys don't know what teenage girls want. Teenage girls don't want.
Hold on, it doesn't matter either way. So the point I made earlier was not that all women wear makeup to seduce men. It was that was the original utility in makeup, and then it became normalized over time to where now it's an expectation for everybody, and now women just wear makeup because now it's just a social norm and an expectation of them. But if men were never attracted to makeup in the first place, it would never have become a social norm, because even back then men were wearing makeup.
Like culturally commodified the way it is.
Exactly. And so that's kind of my point, is if men weren't attracted to it, women wouldn't wear it at the same rate that they do now. Just like back then, men used to wear makeup as well, but it faded away over time because it wasn't an important thing.
What's an example of something that men do today? Well, what's an example of something that men do today that you feel like they're unduly pressured to do, that if it didn't attract women, they wouldn't? In terms of altering their physical appearance.
Shaving, working out, dressing up.
Sure, but with men, it's not just men have to be basically like slaves to I believe a lot of men just kind of go into careers that they genuinely hate, and they know that they hate them, but I am only going to get that family, and I'm only going to get happiness if I just grind myself to the bone. I know it sucks, and I know I fucking hate work, and I hate my life every day, and I'm just going to keep going because I need to fucking get my bank account up so I can fucking support a family and attract a wife that's going to stay with me and love me. I think that's the reality.
Women have that exact same pressure, except for they have to do it so they're not beholden to a man to provide those things for them. Like modern women have the exact same pressures to work jobs they hate and grind up the fucking corporate bullshit. They don't. My wife was a fucking restaurant manager when I met her. She's a college graduate.
You gotta
think
stop.
She was doing that because she wanted to?
You keep doing this where you
same need to be independent from men because they have the monetary capability of providing for themselves now. They have the exact same social pressure.
That's a different pressure. No, that's not the exact same. That's a different social. That's a social pressure to be self-sufficient. Because if men had the pressure to be self-sufficient, they wouldn't be grinding themselves to the bone and doing shit they don't want to do. They would just do something simple or whatever that makes them happy and a nice, decent life.
to be breadwinners. Men have social
Yes.
pressure to be head of household. Men have social pressure to make more money, have more status. So yes, women do those things as well, but you keep using like your personal experiences is like, this is what we're talking about. No, we're talking about generalities and social
You're
norms.
appealing to out-of-date generalities and saying
No.
that they still
There's
are
data
like
to back all of
widely
this
and
stuff up.
generally applicable today. And there are enormous sociological differences in the way that the sexual marketplace interacts with like our personal status quo and like the status quo between men and women, that it has never like is completely unprecedented in the way that we organize our society around like these hierarchical roles. Okay, women want to be able to provide for themselves and to be able to like exist without a breadwinner. So the idea that like women performing that role is increasing the social pressure on men to be breadwinners, or that it hasn't significantly
it actually does increase
eroded
it.
that.
It does increase it because women still want men that make more money. So that means men have to work even fucking harder. But men don't have the social. Men don't have. You're interrupting me like you told me not to. Men don't have the social pressure to not be dependent on a breadwinner. That would be such a nice social pressure compared to the social pressure to out earn the women that are earning, so that they don't have the social pressure to like have to fucking be a slave to a breadwinner.
But couldn't
the social
can
pressure to be the
men...
breadwinner and earn the most money has declined significantly with the alignment of more comparable incomes between the men and women in relationships, and it will continue to do so as fewer and fewer women are beholden to the archetype of men needing to be the breadwinner. The social pressure is shifting and has clearly alleviated on that front, and you're acting like it's a static state of affairs. You're just,
listen, hold on,
how could
hold
it
on.
not wait
Hold
how
on.
could the pressure to be a breadwinner for men not have been socially alleviated by women earning their own income? Now men have to derive value from things other than just their income. That's the point.
Still want men that make more money than them.
By and large, way less than it was important. Statistically, it was prioritized much higher in like
so it's basically the same.
Data.
So
what?
It used to be
no,
that men had to, it used to be that men had to earn all the money. And now it doesn't even matter. Women are earning plenty of money, but women still want men that earn more money. So basically you're in the same place. You still have to earn a shit ton of money to out earn women so that they'll fucking like you.
No, wait, hold on, hold on, please. Okay, so we're talking about different things. Being self-sufficient is one. So like I can give a personal example. My last girlfriend had a job where she was successful. She had her own career, but she still wanted a man who made more money than her and was able to provide if she ever got pregnant and then had to stay home for a while and maybe wasn't able to invest as much time into her career. When men also invest way more time and effort into their careers, women have much more well-rounded lives. They request off for more, and they request off for different things like anniversaries, birthdays, because they care about a bunch of other things, whereas men are less likely to have as many friends because they do dedicate more time to their job. On top of that, it's only like 4% of relationships where the woman makes more than the man. If nobody cared about this as much, it would be like 50-50 or something like that. But it's not, because it's still a huge priority in relationships and for women to find status, and status is most likely going to be represented by a career or money or stuff like that.
The point isn't that there isn't still a social pressure. It is that they are exceedingly lower social pressures on men's income than there were even 20 or 30 years ago. And there's no reason to assume that those trends are going to alleviate as women continue to make more money.
Okay, hold on. So let's recenter this. Hold on. It doesn't matter. Let's recenter this, because we all agree, as long as like you're not saying that it's not a social pressure anymore, because that's all his point was. That's all my point was, is that men still have this social pressure to find a career so that they can be a provider. That doesn't mean that that's always going to be the case.
Significantly eroded by the change in our socioeconomic conditions relative to like between men and women. Not that there was no pressure at all, but that there was significantly less pressure, and that men probably don't have any more pressure to be breadwinners than women do to be able to support themselves, because women are typically like in the modern era are socialized to have careers so they don't have to be dependent on men. That is a social pressure that the current generation has fucking impressed upon them. It's absolutely the case that we socialize women to be more independent now than we did 30 years ago when we were telling them like you need to find a nice man and settle down. So
Do you
these
not
social
realize
pressures,
that comparing these two things are so drastically different? Where you're
no,
talking
they're
about
not.
one
They're
person
they're
just
opposite
being
sides of the same
able,
coin.
one person is just being able to provide for themselves, whereas the other person has to make enough money to provide for numerous people. Maybe himself, the wife, children. It's a different type of pressure. It's completely different. I can easily make enough money to provide for myself. I can't easily make money to provide for numerous people.
Wait a minute. Like, that's just obviously the person who produces and is more likely to be left with the child if the man is no longer part of the relationship, has significant pressure to be a breadwinner and to be able to like extend that capacity beyond their childbearing years and like work a career. Women are left in positions of single motherhood at a dramatically higher rate than they ever were at any point during human history. And those people are fucking breadwinners, okay? They have a
Yes.
tremendous amount of social pressure to be breadwinners, and they have
Yeah.
a greater capacity to be now because they have a greater capacity to provide for themselves. So
I agree
you're
with this,
talking
but I don't.
when you say so when every time you say social pressure, Portland, you're wrong. What you're really
no, I'm
talking is
not.
material. You're talking about material pressure.
Yes.
We're talking about
Material
social
pressure
pressure
doesn't exist when you're born. Material pressure is the stuff that
when you have a
happens
kid.
after
It
you're
exists when you
socialized.
have a yes. When no, it exists when you have a kid, or you need to provide for somebody, or something like that, or you need to be able to sustain yourself. That's a material pressure.
Yeah,
Men
but
have
you're
a
being
social
socialized
pressure.
you're being socialized to be aware of those pressures as a woman at a greater capacity in a much earlier age, because you're not being told like all you have to do is settle down with a nice man when you get out of fucking high school. Okay, women are being socialized differently because of material differences in their conditions that we've observed are leaving them in bad outcomes where they can't support themselves or their children. That's why the social pressure has changed, and it's exerted at a much earlier age than when it actually becomes a material problem.
Yeah, women are educated about the material reality and encouraged to support themselves.
Yeah, the point
Socialized
is that one way
around
or
it.
the other, all of us are going to be encouraged to be able to support ourselves, and not all of us are encouraged to be able to support other people. Like nobody's saying like make sure you make enough money so that when you're an only a single parent mother, you're going to be able to provide for you and your kid. Nobody says that, but they do
What?
say
This is wait, hold on. This is the way I see it. The way the dilemma how the dilemma works for me, Smeth. Okay,
okay.
so like I'm not trying to earn a shit ton of money, so I'm failing at this dilemma. The way I see it, a woman that's making a lot of money is probably a very just like the way women evaluate men. I've seen she's probably like going to be a great partner. She's probably determined. She's got these values that I'm gonna have dearly. And if I want to date a woman that's got a decent career, that's got some motivation and shit, she's gonna most likely, unless she's one of the 4%, she's going to most likely want me to make more money than her. So I have to out earn this woman that's got all these, like, so to get the woman that's driven and has all these values that I'm going to share, I'm going to have to out earn her. So I'm going to have
Wait,
to grab,
Smith.
like, just to take the job. I hate it. I fucking work every day. That's the life I would have to live if I wanted that. If it was
I think
something I was focused on.
this is the biggest contention that I have with your argument is that you make it sound like this pressure is coming solely from women, but if you can acknowledge that there are ways that like women can reinforce and often do reinforce the social pressure for other women to conform to societal beauty standards of like wearing makeup and clothes and stuff like that, would you also acknowledge that men are also contributing to this, like holding
Yes.
other men to this standard by accepting the role as a breadwinner in a relationship?
I agree, but I think
Yeah, but they
both of
shouldn't.
those I think both of those are due to the fact that they are competing with each other for the opposite sex. Women are holding each other to a certain standard because they're competing with each other for men. Men are holding each other to a certain standard because they're competing with each other for women. And so yeah, like you're only doing good in relation to how everybody else around you is doing.
I very much enjoyed this conversation, but there's no end in sight, and I have to go take care of two small children. So I appreciated
right.
interacting with all of you. Hope that your chat is not rebelling too hard. They don't seem to like me, but I
Oh,
love all of them, and I love all
I
three of
thought
you.
they were like, some of them like you.
Some of them like me. Some of them legitimately don't think I'm a real person. They're like think I'm a Fed or an AI collaboration of a bunch of soy ideals. So
Are
I
you? Are
appreciate you
you?
guys.
Are you not?
Yeah, well, not outwardly. I haven't done the big face reveal yet. This looks like my real face, but apparently, like, if I peel this back, circuit board. So
I totally expected your face to come off when you did that just now.
yeah, it would have been cool. But unfortunately, I lack the technology. I appreciate you guys, though. It was really fun. I would love to talk to any one of you or all three of you again about this or any other subject. We could definitely set something up. So thanks for having me.
Have a good night.
Right.
Night, Portland.
So to conclude,
I win.
Yeah. Okay.
Gather your thoughts, Smeth. Unpack your adjectives. How do you feel?
Men can't talk about their feelings.
I want to be. It's very easy to be critical of men. And I
know
think
I'm really good at it.
Yeah, we're all good at it. But it's just so hard to be critical of women without it getting turned back to men. But it's true that what we're talking about is a dynamic between men and women. It's a relationship. It's a cycle. It's an arrow goes here and then it goes. It's like a recycling sign. It goes both ways. So no matter if you criticize women, there is also a criticism of men to be made, and if you criticize men, there's also a criticism of women to be made. But every time you focus on men, we kind of get happy sticking there, and every time we focus on women, we need to bring it back to men.
Yes, we have to say men.
But do you understand why that is?
What?
Because misogyny is more common.
Not just misogyny, but like who has run this world historically?
Women.
Yeah, right. Women rule the world.
Patriarchy only exists because of social pressure that women put on men.
Do you really think that?
Well, kind of, not really, but yes, somewhat. I think that people overly. I think people overly simplify what patriarchy is as though it's this like controlling mechanism that men put into place to control women, whereas in reality, I think men and women naturally fell into these roles and then over exaggerated the difference between the two to where they grew farther and farther apart. Where instead, like there's an equal medium. Or an even medium, I don't know, but there's a medium somewhere, one of those things, so that where we would all actually like be best off at.
Well, I know our next debate topic, Tom. Damn. Okay, I wish it wasn't ended here, but next time we'll definitely debate that one.
I stream pretty consistently, so anytime you want to talk, although I have the standard that you have to have a camera if you want to talk to me. So.
God damn it! I was about to say I never stream consistently, and I never have my camera on because I have not set anything up yet, but I barely got my PC.
I don't know. I hear you on Destiny's channel pretty consistently. So
because all I have to do is open up my phone and go into his room because I have perms to his Discord. That's it. I don't have to actually have my cam on or anything.
I'm just kidding. I will invite you to my Discord. Everybody I give the streamer role automatically has perms to jump into my live. So
hell yeah.
You can jump in anytime.
Cool. Well, it's nice talking to you guys. I think we understand everything now, and it's all clear.
Yeah, sexual market discourse complete. That's it. Final word.
I won.
There will never be another single debate over this. It's solved.
Yeah, I think this was a unique debate. That wasn't the normal one, so I think that's good. So.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Good night, guys. Have a good
one. Good night. Later.
Bye.
So. Yeah, the thing with like Portland is I feel, and this is a constant problem, is not just with him, like, but in general, is that generally there's a problem with people speaking in generalities. Like they always want to take it to like, well, that's not what happened here. And it's like, okay, true. We're not talking about that specific thing though. Like he kept saying like, well, that's not what happened in my relationship. Well, if we were talking about your relationship, then that would be relevant. But right now we're talking about generalities. When we're talking about social pressure or social norms, your relationship is not relevant here at all. And I like, when I talk about like, well, women always approached me, I never had to approach women. I never had to put myself out there or ask women out. I definitely recognize that this is not a common thing, that this is not the norm, that most people that's not most people's experience. Like I can easily understand that, even though that's my experience. Like, but if I kept sticking to my experience and what happens in my life, I wouldn't have been able to engage in that conversation. And I felt like that was Portland, was that he wasn't able to engage on the specific topics because he kept wanting to go back to his anecdotal experiences. Like what was that main one? Oh yeah, the fact that men that like status brings something more tangible into a relationship that a woman benefits from. So that's why at the beginning of the call, where Smeth is saying women are more transactional, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? And he says that means that they gain more from the transaction. And I was like, okay, can we change the wording of this then? Because I don't think more transactional is the right way to word this. Because in order for one to be transactional, there has to be somebody else on the other side of that transaction. And so if women are, X amount transactional, men are going to be the same amount of transactional. They have to be, because they're the ones who are engaging in the transaction. So both of them are going to be just as transactional as the other. But to say one gets more out of the transaction, that's completely different. And so that's what I was trying to talk about, is like, yes, women are going to gain some more tangible resources from the relationship. And he kept going to like, well, no, because look at these markers that men have for bringing tangible things into the relationship. Women have those same markers. And I'm like, cool, where's the tangible thing? Like, what is the tangible thing that they bring in? And he'd go back to, well, look at the markers. There's markers there, so therefore it's tangible. No, the markers are not tangible. The markers are likelihood of something being tangible, but that doesn't mean that they actually bring something tangible. So if a man has status, most of the time this is represented by money. If they have money, that means that they're going to bring nice cars. It means they're going to bring a nice house. That means they're going to bring nice things, nice TVs, all sorts of nice things. You're going to be upper class. You're going to have nicer dinners. You're going to have all sorts of other nicer things that you're bringing into that relationship. So if you are the breadwinner, if you are the one with status, if you're the one making more money, what is the woman bringing that equals that? Used to be, it meant you can do your job and make that money because I'm staying home. I'm taking care of the kids. I'm doing the dishes. I'm doing the laundry. I'm vacuuming. I'm doing everything else so that you are capable of just focusing on that job and getting that status and gaining that money and giving us all of these nice things. That used to be the transaction. That's no longer the transaction anymore. Now it's, we split housework fairly evenly. Women still do most of, sorry, not most. I guess it's still most, but they still do more housework than men. That is still true on average. And men still by far make more money than women. So now it's men, you still have the same expectation of you to make more money and pay for the dates and pay for nice things and all of that stuff. But also, you also have to now do more of this other stuff. While women are working more and they're able to bring more like monetary value in, but that isn't the status. That isn't the nice things. That isn't the, it's very different. And so, yes, the arguments, and that's not even what men value. Men aren't looking for women saying, hey, what nice things can you buy me? What kind of jewelry can you get me? How big is my wedding ring gonna be? How big is my car gonna be? They don't care about that stuff. It's not really high up on their list of things that they're looking for in a relationship. Whereas for women, it's number one, dude. It is number one. And so they're getting a lot more tangible value from the man than the man is getting from the woman. My point is, I don't freaking care. I don't care. I think that's fine. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that relationship, because not only does the woman get that status, but they also get protection. They get somebody stronger, somebody who can open up the pickle jars, somebody who can bring in the groceries, take out the trash, clean out the gutters, like all of, mow the lawn, all of these other things. And and they still get the woman. And I think most men are like, yeah, cool, no problem. And women, again, still do more housework. They still do more laundry. They still do more dishes. They still do a lot of these other things at a higher rate than men. So there is like those things still exist. They still, being a homemaker still is part of the list. And I would say that's still some sort of tangible value that men get from women. It's just not as much anymore. It's not as often, and it's kind of stigmatized that women do more housework even though men make more money.